Welcome back, Martini Giant fans. This is episode number 107, which is the first of what we hope to be a long tradition of our holiday specials, which we're going to call our Hitchcock holidays. Yes, I can't believe that we've gone over 100 episodes on Martini Giant and still have not covered Hitchcock. Well, let's just make it a yearly tradition from now on, and we have plenty of movies to get through, so we're very excited about that. So we're picking from two movies today. The first one is Notorious from 1946 with Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman, and of course, Claude Rains, which is a little bit more obscure. A lot of you may not have seen it, and one of the most famous ones that we paired it with is, of course, North by Northwest, also starring Cary Grant, but this one has, of course, Ava Marie Saint and James Mason. They're both very good films. One is definitely an influence on the other. We talk a lot about that. Obviously, Dan Thron loves to talk about sexual innuendo, and we deeply get into that, as we should with any Hitchcock film. So it's a lot of fun. Very excited to have that. I just thought about this today. For those of you watching this on video, by the way, if you would like to watch this on video, just go to youtube.com/@MartiniGiant and you can get our YouTube channel. I am actually drinking from a almost 30-year-old mug. I got this in 1993. This is given to me by my professor for my graduation because I was really, really interested in Mathematica, and he gave me this mug. I still have it almost 30 years later. Mathematica is really the program that got me into visualization and got me interested into computer visualization, not the traditional story that a lot of people have. But anyway, still have it, still drinking from it, and there you go. I also want to note, speaking of interesting mugs and stuff, this is your last chance if you would like to get something for the holidays. Of course, you can always order after the holidays, but if you'd like to get something for the holidays, I highly urge you to go right now to martinigiant.threadless.com. We have mugs and t-shirts and any of your merch you'd like to have, including our Too Much Escargot t-shirt if you'd like to get that. So please go ahead and order from there, and don't forget to support Martini Giant. We would love to have that. But yes, now, we're hoping that every holiday season we will have a Hitchcock episode. So this is a great one to kick it off with. It is Notorious and North by Northwest. Enjoy. Today we will be talking about two Hitchcock films. So the thing is, I think we decided we're going to do Hitchcock. I said we should make this a tradition, even though I believe that we'll probably forget to make this a tradition next Thanksgiving.
I think we'll remember. I think this is a good idea. The Thanksgiving Hitchcock is a good idea.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to try to make that happen. And we decided to start this one with two movies. We started with, the first idea was North by Northwest, which is a very good and obvious Hitchcock film to do. And then we're trying to find a good pairing. And we were talking about two different things, and I think we got a little confused. I started with Notorious, and then Daniel remembered Notorious as well. Eric said, I thought we were going to do
Suspicion, maybe?
Suspicion.
I always mix up Notorious and Suspicion's titles. So yes, that's a reasonable thing.
Right. But so we didn't end up making it Notorious, which is cool. So Notorious is from 1946.
Yep.
And Suspicion is, I don't remember.
41.
41.
That's 41. Right.
And North by Northwest is 59.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And I was just rewatching North by Northwest, and I was saying, you know what? Hitchcock was the king of virtual production.
He is the king of virtual production. In fact, I might as well jump the gun right now. The single greatest rear screen projection shot in history, including The Mandalorian, is in this movie.
North by Northwest.
North by Northwest.
Yeah.
It is
Actually, there's some great
shocking.
Which one? Because there's so many.
There's so many, but the classic bit when he starts running from the plane.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's mine. When I found out that was a rear projection, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I watched it again. I was just like, no. It's impossible.
The Ellen Shaw matte painting ones.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah,
very
and
beautiful.
I also love the stuff like the forced perspective. Like when they were, he was sneaking into the house.
Oh, it's great.
And he looks at the runway, There was a total little like.
Oh yeah, the miniature
Like
thing.
all that stuff. Like the
And
thing
the
is, like all
forest.
that.
I love that forest.
All that stuff looks like it looks like an effect. It doesn't look real, but it looks very cool, right? It looks very painty, but very cool. But like that one shot of him running, where you see in our background right now, like I'm still that looks better than Marvel films today in
Yeah.
terms of green screen or anything else they've ever done.
Yeah.
Like
Really?
it's utterly.
Well, look how
convincing
bright
to
it
me.
is, because rear projections rarely get bright enough.
I literally only discovered maybe less than 10 years ago that was an effects shot. And I knew there are other shots in the scene that were effects, but that's, I was just like, yeah, okay, that's a rear projection. But I thought that this was like some clever stunt gag. So it was like they shot from far away, and that's why the plane seemed so close, and they, whatever, the usual deal. I was utterly convinced for decades that was real. I was completely shocked to find out that it wasn't. And even now, knowing it, I can barely see it.
The other one that surprised me was so I was thinking about it. I was watching the scene at Mount Rushmore when they're going after the cafeteria scene. When it like the cafeteria thing, right?
Mhm.
And then he's outside the cafeteria. So you see him walking. That's clearly at the actual place. And then he turns around. It's a close up of him, and then it's a rear projection.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
And I was like, why didn't they just shoot that? And I realized, because one of them had to be on a soundstage to get the dialogue.
Right.
So
that was the dominating thing, is sound recording makes those choices up until the mid to late 60s.
Right.
It's just like, if there's going to be talking, we can't be shooting this outside. It's not going to work out.
Yeah, it's not going to. Did you guys ever catch? Every time I watch it, it kind of ruins the scene with the little boy covering his ears.
Oh, I think that's funny. Yeah, I do know. Someone pointed that out to me. It's just in
which one?
In the cafeteria scene.
Yeah, at the UN when the gun goes off.
No.
Mount Rushmore.
Oh, is it Mount Rushmore?
Yes. If you look at the Mount Rushmore scene, and he comes in and pretends to shoot her.
Right, pretends to shoot her. Gun goes off.
No, she shoots him.
And then
there's a boy in the background.
Boy in the
so
background
they're scuffling, and the boy goes little kid goes.
Yeah.
And looks back at them, because apparently they did so many takes. It was so loud.
He knew that it was coming, right?
He knew it was coming. So you see a little boy sitting right behind them. He goes.
That's not a scene breaking goof for me, because
but every time I see it, I'm like, there's little boy.
There's little boy.
He screwed up that day.
Like the beauty of North by Northwest is that the whole movie is just so ridiculous. Like it's brilliantly ridiculous, and it's incredibly fun like the whole time. But it's not like, this is operating at almost no level of reality at all. It's just like, here are some stars. This is hilarious. Look at how beautiful this is, and these are great scenes. And it's one of the only movies that I can think of that is sort of in your face about how on the fly the story was told, and yet it works brilliantly. Like it's like the kind of plot that they're just making up as they go, but it still feels incredibly tight and fun. And
it's complicated as hell. I was thinking about how the hell are we going to talk about this, because so much stuff goes on.
Yeah.
And both of these, although I got to tell you, the first one, Notorious, there's a lot of North by Northwest in Notorious, but North by Northwest does it, takes it to the next level. It's almost like Notorious was a practice film.
Yeah, like Notorious, and we can get to this. Like I love Notorious. I think Notorious is incredible.
I really like that film.
But it's very much of that's the tail end of Hitchcock's first phase.
Like the noir phase?
Yeah, well, it's the British mystery phase, and because he starts in silent films. He starts with the Lodger silent films, and so through the late 30s in England, he's making basically second run English thriller spy films, and by the time he gets to the war, it's there's 3 or 4 the evils of the Nazis, World War II is approaching kind of stories. And so I don't know if this is his first American movie, but it's an American.
This was his third.
This is his third. Okay.
I read that. And I was like, what? I thought it was his first.
It really feels like it fits his, it's 39 Steps or, any of that stuff. It fits in that set. And you can start to see the stuff that he later gets famous for in his second period, in his Hollywood period. All the ideas are percolating there. But he is still very much in his his older mode, yet he is making a very Hollywood movie. and that's what makes Notorious so sort of strange. Like it's like this is a big star movie, and it's a star driven movie.
I think
right?
the only thing about it makes it a Hollywood movie is stars.
Yes.
But I mean, if you had British actors that you didn't know,
Oh, it would totally, yeah. Like if this were this like Grant and Bergman and Claude Rains make this like they lift it up to a different plane. Like you don't see Hollywood actors doing this kind of movie ever. You know, this is a very different kind of movie than they would normally be playing. And so it ends up being this bizarro mix of like not North that way, like Wuthering Heights and like a John le Carre story. Like this weird, like hyper romanticism and super like depressing spy stuff.
Yeah, her she's a little over the top with how she falls in love with him. Like,
it's very intense. Like, man,
know.
the initial push of the movie is like one of the things I love about the movie is like the first third is one of the most like erotic, intense attacks you can see in Hollywood. Like the whole first 20 minutes is this
Right.
onslaught of sensuality that must have been like mind blowing at the time.
yeah, and
know.
it broke some of the rules because there was that 3-second rule
Right.
of on intimacy, but they went over.
It is a thirsty movie, man. Like this guy's like there's long takes of them very close together and whispering like so quietly you could barely catch it, and like lots of wet sounds from the talking. Well, I was just like, Jesus, this is unusual. It's certainly unusual for like Hollywood now is infinitely more chaste than it's ever been. Like Hollywood right now is like it's like Hays Code Hollywood, only we're doing it on purpose. You know, just like nobody kisses, nobody fucks, nothing happens like that at all. But Notorious, I was like, Jeepers Creepers, these guys are like gonna take to another level.
Imagine if they released Irreversible in 1946.
It's basically like that. It's more
Imagine that. Do you know what a scandal that
By TV, Chatham Shark says hi.
Oh, hello, sir. Yeah, I think I know who that may be. Yes.
Chatham.
Yeah, that is that's my oldest of stomping grounds.
Yep.
Very excellent.
Yeah, no, that like her 1 inch of midriff.
Oh yeah, it's very daring, especially for like an elegant actor like Bergman.
Yes,
like that was like that. Like,
her drunkenness was a little over the top too, but it was entertaining.
It was a good bratty.
Yeah, it's good. It's good fun brattiness, and like the like what really like she is definitely into Grant. Like she sells that. Right. Yeah. She overplays her hand in terms of like the drunkenness and like, you know, like her sort of like, you know, having, you know, sort of tantrums and stuff like that. But the sexy scenes are just out of control. And Grant is like he is so I don't know what to say. Like he's so sort of like he plays everything very close to the chest. Like he's like he super wants to make out with her, but he's resisting super hard, and it makes the whole thing crazy horny. Like it's absolutely fantastic.
But
his plays is super cool too.
He's like, super cool.
But they're competing also. Like there was definitely some of the dialogue was so like noirish dialogue.
Oh yeah, there's some snappy
that they had him play. Yeah.
And so like there's very Hollywood business going on in this very very British movie, and then in between is this lusty because like. Hitchcock is always very he's always been very forward in terms of how sexuality controls people's choices and all kinds of things like this. But like this is the first movie where you're like, it's a little bit breathy.
He loves sex.
Oh, he loves it. And it makes his movies really weird. It's really great.
Yeah.
You know, because certainly by the time, because like by the time you get to, you know, Vertigo, like Vertigo's a pretty dirty movie. Like, well, what it's saying and some of the shots are pretty bad. Not bad like I don't mean like bad like he shouldn't show that. Like bad like it's intense. But if you get to a movie like Marnie, right, with Tippi Hedren, like Marnie is about a woman who won't have sex. Right? She's like absolutely not. Men are terrible, etc., etc. The opening shot of Marnie is as yonic an image as I've ever seen in a movie. Which is to say, it cuts into or fades into an incredibly tight shot of a closed purse, and the folds of the purse look as sexual as you could possibly make something look.
What do you mean by that?
In 1960, I was like, the first time I saw it, I was like, holy Jesus. Like, what is this movie? And it's a movie that explicitly deals with sex in some pretty harsh ways. And so like to see the seeds of all that as early as Notorious is really sort of spectacular. And that it's like Grant is fantastic, and he's like resisting the siren's call the whole time. And that's the first third, and it's important because like the movie itself is going to spend most of the time with him being pissed off and grumpy, and angry that this isn't that that she's banging some other dude. And so you really have to buy in. He knew that you really have to buy into their love affair early on. So he shotguns it at the audience for 20 straight minutes. So it gives you enough power to go all the way through to the end.
To make those final scenes believable.
To make the final scenes believable. Yeah.
And it pays off because that final scene was incredible.
Oh, it's fucking great. Like, there's so much great shit in this movie. It's just insane. Like, the plot's
he knows how to end a movie without dragging it out.
He gets there. That's it. So I suppose we're talking about Notorious first. Then, no, like Notorious is this first.
Okay. First of all, before we get, I just want to ask people in chat. I know Alan Schneller's there, and Jason's here, and on TV, Chatham Shark is here. Have you guys seen both of these movies? I'm assuming most of you have seen North by Northwest. I don't know if you've seen Notorious, so let us know in chat if you've seen them or not. Either way, we are going to spoil the whole thing for you. So I'm sorry about that, because that's but so that's just the way it goes.
This is what this is. Like, also, like, these are Hitchcock movies. Like, I think that these movies, like, even if you haven't seen Notorious, it's not going to spoil Notorious. Right. Like, Notorious is it's a really savory movie, and but like, it's the kind of movie where you know how it's going to work. Like, it's a 40s movie. It's an old Hollywood movie. So there's no great surprises. It's just all savoring the execution, and the execution is just out of this world in that movie. It's incredibly good.
Yeah, the way they kissed him back then, man, I was like,
yeah, dude, man, it's like this movie has like what's the thing? Like, at the end, there's okay. I'm just going to jump ahead for 1 second to talk about a shot that obsesses me in this movie.
In Notorious?
In Notorious.
Okay.
She's been drugged, right?
Yeah.
Right? She's in bed. She's been poisoned. She's been drugged.
Yeah.
He's there to save her in the house.
Yeah.
You follow with him into the room.
Yes.
And then he leans down over her, right?
Yes.
And there's this very close, intimate talk. Finally, they're admitting their love for one another in the most heightened of circumstances, like in a Nazi house, like everything is terrible.
Yeah.
And in the first half of the shot, it's all about all the dialogue is about, we're in danger, I've been poisoned, etc. It's all the sort of like the plot elements. Right. And with that, the exposure is set so you see both of them pretty clearly, right? Mm-hmm. And in the middle, the camera gets closer and closer and closer until you're right up with them, right? And then it turns on the finally he says, I love you, right? Mm-hmm. Which has been the tension the whole time. And the camera starts pulling out, and at the same time, they're dialing the exposure down. So he is a perfect silhouette, which he wasn't seconds ago, right. But now he's a perfect silhouette against the blurred out light behind him, and right. She's got this gorgeous light on her face, and it goes from this tension shot, from a thriller shot, to right. The most romantic shot in the movie. And they don't change cameras, they don't do anything, they just dial the stops down by like 0.5, and it changed the entire movie. It's just phenomenal.
Way more obvious than that one was the first time they did that gag, which is when she wakes up from being drunk.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and then he comes in, and he's completely like, the camera is like completely shot like
it's like this. Yeah, like, it's a total Dutch angle, right?
Dutch angle, right? And then as he approaches, she's turning her head, confused, and he just starts to twist around, and it's just this confusion of like, and it's like. It's just like, waking up with a hangover.
Yeah, it is. Like,
that
this
was
is like
good stuff. And even just the emphasizing of just simple props, like the keys or the cups.
Oh yeah. There's so much, like, there's so many great little subtle follow gags in this, where it's just like, like you're at the I'm sorry, we're jumping ahead all over the place, but like there's shots like
We're talking about shots. We're not talking about the plot.
yeah, this is just execution. And so like they're at the party and you're worried that that they're going to figure out the Nazis are going to figure out that the good guys have the keys to the wine cellar, right? And there's the door of the wine cellar. And there are these beautiful follow shots where you're following actors all over the place, is good into closes and out into wides and going through the entire. And every time the wine cellar door ends up on screen for anything, just for that moment, all of the background actors happen to have cleared the frame so you can see it directly, and the camera drags a little bit. So you go wine cellar door, and you're like, it keeps it in your attention all the time, even when it's not the focus of the scene.
Yeah,
And it's just like it's that kind of attention to detail. Like it's like it's watching this movie. It's like I've seen, my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movies, like The Birds and all that stuff. I've seen those so many times that my love for them is sort of like I don't even notice how much I love them. Right. And whereas this one I hadn't seen it in a few years, and I'm just like, holy fuck, do I love Alfred Hitchcock? Like this guy is just incredible. He's just good at everything.
Well, the thing I was thinking about it like when I was looking at North and West, I was like, this is such a good movie. And on top of that, this is a movie that everyone can like, right? This is almost like a summer blockbuster film.
Yes.
I mean, all the action, all the excitement, everything. Yep. And you add Hitchcock to the top of it. On top of that.
It's like he's just got like North by Northwest. It's like it's so breezy, but so satisfying.
Did you notice his cameo?
Oh, at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, on the bus.
That's
no, in Notorious.
No,
I didn't see Notorious. What is it, Notorious?
Yeah, he does. I think that's the first film he started doing. No, it isn't.
Where is he in Notorious?
They, where he goes into the back. Cary Grant just leaves her talking because he's jealous they were sitting down. Okay. He goes into the kitchen to see the amount of champagne.
Oh, right.
Yep. And so he looks into the ice bucket, and a guy walks up and just grabs it, goes, puts it down.
That must have been Hitchcock. I didn't
Hitchcock.
That's funny. That's funny. It's about that one.
So when he enters the door, there's a guy in the foreground drinking from the waiter's tray before it goes out.
Oh, that's so good. I'm gonna watch that. I want to watch this movie again. I enjoyed it so much. It has been a while. Yeah, and like it's such a because it's satisfying, because like a lot of old Hollywood movies, like for instance, like Casablanca is one of the great films of all time, no doubt about it. Like, sure, it is one of the great films of all time because the cast is flawless and the script
two members of the cast were Notorious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and the cast is flawless and the script is perfect. Right. It is and this is I'm not being hard on anybody. Like, it's a perfectly well-directed film. Like, it's not a notably well-directed film. Like, it's a very journeyman style production. It's like, you can tell that this is a Hollywood product. Everything is done extremely well. There's not a lot to distract. There's not a lot of identity to the filmmaking. It's very well done. I'm not saying it's badly directed. It's very tightly directed, and the editing in particular is great. But like, you look at Notorious must have seemed like Pulp Fiction compared to.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's so, like, it's got so much identity to the camera and so much identity to the flavor of the movie, and it's all in technique, and nobody was doing that in Hollywood. And so to see like Hollywood movies do that at the time is just like really weird. It's extremely cutting edge. And now, like, to compare it to now, like, I was thinking of, and I don't mean to constantly blast whatever Marvel movies. The Marvel movies are sort of like a, I don't actually mean specifically Marvel movies when I complain. I just mean like generic Hollywood products of today. Like, you watch Notorious and you can tell exactly how lazy the fucking filmmaking is in everything else you watch.
Oh yeah,
like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, no. Well, so much thought goes into everything, and I think, one of the reasons so much thought goes into it is like, you have to really plan these shots because of the amount of work it took to move a camera around, do a set, do an extension,
the lights
painting.
The lights are so hot, like people will pass out, right? The camera is the camera's like a fucking refrigerator packed with ham that you're trying to make move fluidly. And all of this is just like, you got like all these people try to lift this gear and do it smoothly is like, it's like a circus act. And so like that we have everything so easy now, comparatively easy. It's all still very hard to make movies, that we don't put a lot of thought into it is evident. Like these guys were like, this is going to be hard, and we want to figure out how to do it anyway. You could just leave the camera there; it would look like a regular Hollywood movie, and no one would care. But they're just like, nope, we're gonna figure out a way to have the fucking camera start at the top of the ballroom ceiling and go all the way down to the key in her hand. We're gonna figure it out.
Have you seen the contraption to film that they made?
No, I can't imagine it.
Yeah, look it up. It's a wooden. I mean, I'll pull it out and show you guys. It's crazy. And
It's
they were
insane.
I saw this interview where they're talking about the camera. They couldn't really see through the camera because it was like a parallax lens on the side.
Oh,
So-
you mean a periscope?
Yeah, well, because
No,
you're
it was
you're getting
a
an
non-reflective
offset.
camera.
Yeah,
Meaning-
it's not a mirror based system. It's
Yeah, it wasn't mirror based.
Right.
So it was just a lens on the side
Right.
of the big refrigerator.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so you have to put your line up, and then you have to basically align and then move the camera over to see at a
What it's
certain
gonna see.
degree what it is. But
Right.
when you're doing this crane shot,
No
it
way
was
to know.
impossible. So that's why the hand went out of focus before they opened it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly. In fact, like not only is that acceptable, I actually like that stuff. I like little, so they don't nail the focus on the coffee cup, and that's cool. There's so much beauty going, and there's so much thought going into this thing. Like I don't give a shit if they don't fucking. It's not crystal. That's fine, But that one shot, and not only that, he had the balls to shoot it with a much shorter lens, and this is also why there's focus issues. But it's like when you do dolly shots, and there's loads of these things in this movie, people often opt for short lenses. I meant long lenses before. They go for shorter lenses because there's more distortion and more travel in the image, and so it feels more exciting in terms of a single shot. Hitchcock doesn't do that. Like he uses longer lenses, and then so when you're dollying in or moving around behind actors, like you don't get that sort of Kubrickian movement. Like everything is just sort of shifting in strange ways. And so it produces a weird mood rather than a showy shot, right? And so when they do the come down from the ceiling down to the key, like it never feels like you're aware of the camera. Like it's just that you end up on the key, and only afterwards do you, wait, did this start in the ceiling?
Right.
And so he never breaks the movie to wow you. It's only in thinking about it.
Yeah.
Those two
He makes
links
it. He
to
makes
Twitch.
it part of
The
the
second
story.
one,
Yes.
to all
Yeah.
the listeners, the second link, the first one's a great article. The second one, if you scroll down, you can see the rig.
Oh, let's see this.
This
See it,
freaking
but-
thing.
I'm clicking. on
Oh
it
my
myself.
God. Jesus.
Yeah, and so that lens you see on the side, see how it's different?
Oh yeah, look at
You
it.
have to slide it in and measure, and that would be the
That looks
crux.
dangerous. That looks
Oh,
like
yeah.
hazard pay for the cameraman.
What a beautiful object.
Yeah.
What a beautiful object that is.
So that's why it was really tough to shoot that thing,
Oh, that's
because it
beautiful.
was like to move that rig off the to get that thing
Yeah.
going.
I mean, just think, just if you guys look at that link, you'll basically see like it starts off way at the top of essentially like 5 stories up by a chandelier, and goes all the way down to a macro shot of a
It
key in
is.
her hand.
It's truly incredible. And
Look at the third link I sent. To look at that, it's just basically timber. I'm like,
yeah, that's
totally
it. Like,
making it up.
You're like, I don't
If you
know,
look
just
at the
hammer it
third
together.
link, look at the photo.
Yeah,
It's like literally, let's go to Home Depot, get some wood, and make this thing.
that is fantastic, man. Look at that thing.
See how it's just look like-
I just don't know if it has enough nails in it. Like it's kind of terrifying.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. This is dangerous. This is
looks
like
like-
some weird shitty ride you'd find off the highway.
Yeah,
You're
if
just
you
like,
scroll
oh,
down,
those
It's like
kids.
Scroll down.
like a bunch of 7-year-olds made a
You get to see
treehouse.
closer up ones. If you scroll down, there's a gallery.
Oh,
It's
that's
pretty.
so
It
great.
looks so rickety. It's unbelievable.
That looks
Yeah.
like bad news, man. I would
I
be
would
like,
not
that's
get
gonna
up to
fall on
that.
Bergman, and we're all gonna be shot. This is bad news.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay, so like
Okay, we got to get into the plot. We got to get
into the plot. This movie is like loaded with technique.
And I'm going to try fly without my notes, so you guys have to correct me if I do it. But anyway, it starts off. I believe it starts off in the courtroom. Am I correct?
Yes.
Great courtroom stuff.
Florida.
It's in Florida, and the courtroom is it's not actually in the courtroom, which is a really good part of the story. It's just outside the courtroom, a bunch of guys with journalists with cameras, right?
Yeah.
So try obviously, you're in a courtroom. But I think it says something about Florida courtroom, whatever. And then you don't actually enter the courtroom. You just see someone open the door with a crack, looking through the crack at what's happening. And what's happening at that moment, he's being deliberated and told, that he's been on trial for treason. This guy's been on trial, right? And he starts making some big thing there. And then as some big, he starts making a big speech, and the guy says, save it for the appeal, right? And then that's not what's happening. And then he leaves, and then he's like, she's coming out. And here comes Ingrid Bergman, right? And she's got this, and it's like, how do you feel about your father? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, as a traitor to the country or whatever. And basically, you find out that somehow he did something that made him get, arrested for treason.
Yeah, her Ingrid Bergman's dad is Nazi, right? And he's done something.
Kind of.
Yeah, like he's a Nazi. He's working he's working against America for Germany.
Right.
Enough so that they have all the recordings,
right,
which you realize later. So that's enough to condemn him.
Like it's because it's the actual plot line is that whatever this H.G. Farben or something like this is like trying to work to get something made. We don't know. Like there's the actual sort of like plot of it. But the short bit is that this is Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman versus the Nazis, and the Nazis, though there's no Nazis in the movie in terms of like dudes in Nazi suits. It's all just German business people who are assisting the German war machine is what's going on. And so Ingrid Bergman is, people are like, you're a scumbag because your father is a traitor helping the German war machine. That's the setup you get from the beginning.
It is, but she's also very pro-American, and her mother was American, right? So she's upset at her father, but she's also kind of, not one of us respects her, right? And so in her rebellious act after her dad gets arrested, she has a party in which she's invited a whole bunch of people, and she is getting drunk at the party, right? And
she is heavily slut-shamed at the beginning of this movie by everyone around her. Like,
that's true.
You're a scumbag. Your father is a traitor, and she's just like, well fine. I hated my father, but fuck you all anyway.
I always saw it as just she's a brat.
Oh, I'm talking about like what she's complaining about is everyone basically thinks that she's trash and a whore, and like she's like a good time girl, right? And she is like she rejected her father, hates her father, and hates his.
But you find out that later.
Oh yeah, like this is the like this is why
she's angry at everyone. She's a rebellious teenager.
She is, but you don't find out her real stance until he plays.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. Like in the opening, she's just like, you see her come out of the courtroom, father's in jail, whatever. She's like angrily sort of blows everybody off. She has this big party. She's drinking a shitload and flirting all over the place. And the attitude, she is angry that, and what you later find out is that she is angry at everyone whose side she is on, because they are throwing her out because of her father. Like they're dismissing her because of her father. And so she's like, fine, if you're gonna throw me out, fuck you all. I'm just not going to pay attention anymore. Like, I'm just going to live my life and have fun, and it's a party, and if you guys think that I'm a scumbag or tawdry, then I don't care.
Yes. There's a guest there. So that's a really, of course, because it's Hitchcock, really great shot, all the people are talking, doing their little party thing. They're dancing. They're having more. She keeps pouring more and more alcohol for everyone, including herself. And then you just see someone's head from behind, barely involved in the conversation,
it's a great
right?
shot.
And so it's like, no, he's with, because she's like, who are you? And it's like, oh, he's with us, or I brought him over, and so you kind of like, who's this guy, right? Anyway, the party seems to have wound down where everyone's gone, but the guy is still there, same position, lots more drinks on the table. And she's like, I guess we still have one more drink in us, right? And then the camera turns around and you realize it's Cary Grant, right? Great reveal shot.
Mhm.
Awesome. And then she says, for some reason she says, my car's outside, you want to go for a ride? And she's trashed.
Well, because like there's this great, like there's some naughty dialogue right up front.
Yeah.
Like she's like, they're talking about having a picnic, and do you want to have a picnic inside or outside?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like this is all like, it's barely disguised dialogue.
Yes.
Right. And like it's like she's being so forward with Grant. Like he's just like, okay, that sounds good. And finally she's basically weighing whether or not she's, to quote the dead Kennedys, too drunk to fuck.
Right. Right.
She's like, well, I can either go out and show this, like I'm going to have a breezy time inside the house and bang this dude, or I'm going to go drive dangerously because I'm hammered, and so I don't have to pay attention to the world.
Yeah, and I want to just be a rebel, and I'm going to do things that are wrong, and and also because of all the shit that went down with her dad, she's constantly being harassed by cops.
Yes, she hates cops.
She hates cops.
Yeah,
right. And so she's very rebellious about that. And then when she leaves, the great scene, like I said, when she's wearing this very interesting dress, where just a teeny bit of midriff showing between her dress and her was.
It's Carmen Miranda dress. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no belly button, because that was not that was considered nudity at the time.
Right. But it is for the time a very risque dress for a Hollywood actor to be.
And they bring extra attention to it, because he ties a scarf around her waist. It says, in case you catch a cold.
Right. And what that scene there's so much to fucking say about this movie. When she's drunk and she's obviously in a very sensual mood. You've had this very sort of sexy, playful talk that's just led to them walking out of the house, not even getting in the car yet. Yeah. And she's standing there on the porch of the house. This is in Miami. And there's this wind that hits her. And you're just like, it's so sultry. It's like insane. Right. And Grant is being very it's like he's she's obviously like super sexy. And he's totally into it. But he's also, because we find out later, he's there for this is a job.
Oh yeah. That's the whole thing though. He plays it off as cool, but he's there for a job.
But he's there for a job. And so like he is actually,
we kind of you knew.
Yeah, you get the idea that he has something else in mind for sure.
Sure.
But you're not sure what it is or why he's acting the way he is just yet, right? And the tension of him resisting this, when it's like both Bergman and Hitchcock are selling the sensuality of the scene, like cranks up the sexual tension for the viewer times 10. Like it's awesomely done. And then they get in the car and she's hammered, right? And she knows it's a horrible idea to drive,
right?
But she uses this as an excuse just to needle him, just like
she just wants to taunt him.
Yeah, like she's just like, I know you like me. I know you think I'm attractive, for one thing.
Sure.
But like, I'm going to try to drive you away. I'm going to act.
Yeah, I'm going to make myself repulsive to you.
I'm going to make this so fucking stupid and scary that I'll drive you away, and then I'm going to blame you. Well, that's the setup for what's going to happen. Right. But he keeps his shit together.
Yeah, and she's he's like, how fast am I going? And some great shots where it's like,
like old rear screen projection,
stuff,
and really sped up film, all that
really fast. And she's it's 1946. I mean, you can tell, but it's still pretty good.
That's good. I mean, it works. It works.
And they do this great gag where she's like, the hair's in front of her face, and they do the camera with the hair in front of the camera.
Oh yeah, she's like, oh, this fog. Like, that's the hair in your eyes, my friend. And like, and he's like, and he's acting cool as shit. She's like, are you scared yet? Are you scared?
Rolling a cigarette.
Yeah, and he's just like acting super cool, but his hand is also hovering above around the steering wheel.
Steering wheel. Yeah,
he is like, you can see that he's actually quite worried.
Control.
Like,
Right.
but he's just like, I'm only gonna act if
I need it.
if I need to. But like he is worried. Like she's doing a stupid and crazy thing.
Yep.
And he's like, this is very true to his character, you find out. Like he's just like, I'm going to let her decide her own actions against herself.
Right.
Like
I'm not going to stop her from anything.
Yeah, but
unless it's fatal.
it's
Right.
even the way he said I'm leaving and never really expressed the love.
Oh, exactly. Like this is like his great, like his
And he attributed
quality
it to masculinity.
Right. His quality is his ability to be present and control himself in the moment, no matter what the emotions are. But his flaw is that he controls himself too much and doesn't let her in the way that he should because he's in love with her. And so all these scenes, like every single scene that you're seeing, is she is being like not just sort of sexy and likable, but like he is clearly falling for her and resisting over and over and over again. And that sets up his like his both his stolidity in terms of like, you know, what he is prepared to do because this is his job and this is for America and the war and blah blah blah. But also his like his mistake of just not trusting her, like opening up to her. And so like they do all this really, and this first 20 minutes is like this whirlwind thing where in any other movie he would be as swept away as she is, but because he's resisting it, like it feels more powerful. Like,
But isn't that also part of the theme where things are hidden?
yes, right.
Like things are hidden and beneath the surface, and like the being poisoned, things you never knew.
Yeah. Right.
You don't know that's going on.
Oh, there's a couple of great like realization shots in this movie. Like Claude Rains has it when Claude Rains figures out what's going on. We'll talk about it later, but it's just like when he goes, "Oh my God, I'm fucked." Like, and you see it, like the whole world just changes around him from his point of view. And the same thing happens to Bergman later on when she's poisoned, that she realizes what's going on.
Right.
And so you're right, Eric. It's just like everything is just sort of like both hiding things from people and hiding things from yourself is the major theme that's consistently hammered in the movie. It's a really, really tight screenplay, especially in that respect. You get an enormous amount of mileage.
And it's all based around a key.
And it's all about a key.
Something that can open up something.
Yes.
Because you can't
great
get
call.
in.
Great call. Exactly.
So it's like that visual thing of the key and a door you can't enter.
Yes.
Is pretty much even with the characters.
Yeah. It's from the wine cellar to Cary Grant's heart. That's exactly what's going on. You know? That's
what all of Hitchcock's movies are about. Things going into things.
There's a lot of things in. We'll talk about North by Northwest in a minute. Yeah.
Lots of things going into things.
Yeah. Good Lord. But yeah, so like she drives drunk with him, and finally, like, cop pulls her
over, and she's like, "Great, I'm gonna," and then he says, "I think we're fine." Passes a note or shows something to the cop. The cop lets them go. She's angry now at him.
Great, you're a cop too.
Right. And I hate cops, and he should have given me a ticket. And so she wants the ticket because, like, great, you're a freaking cop.
Well, and she says, like, because I already got a DUI, so this is my second one. I'm going to jail, just like my dad. My dad's in jail, and I'm in jail. Perfect. Like, this is what she subconsciously wants. She wants to satisfy this tragedy she wants to, dial herself into. And he's just like, that's not going to happen. We're not going to, I don't give a shit if you're angry about it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And so she struggles with him. She's upset at him. He subdues her. She passes out.
Oh, he punches her in the face.
He punches.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And this is like it's done in a turnaround, right? Like because even then, I mean, people say like, well, it's like, oh, it's of the time. No, it's like, it's not okay to punch a woman in the face. Even in 1940s, it is a bad thing to punch a woman in the face. And so like they know it, they sort of hide it, right? They gives her like a glass jaw punch in the chin and knocks her out.
Right.
And it's intentionally upsetting and uncomfortable because
Right.
the scene's been sort of fun up until that point, and now
Mhm.
you're like, good guys do not do that, right?
Right.
And so you're wondering what his motivations are, but you clearly see how far he's willing to go to make sure that whatever is happening is going to happen.
At which point he takes her to bed, puts her down in bed, so she wakes up, where we have that scene that I described earlier, where she wakes up with a massive hangover,
Right.
and she's all Dutched, and she's trying to turn her head around, and everything's kind of twisting and turning, and it's like, nauseating.
He really does a good job with it.
He does a good job, right? And the other thing I liked is he's like drink that, like he had made some concoction for her to drink for her hangover, and she's got hair in her mouth.
Yeah, right.
And it's gross, and she's like trying to drink this concoction, and it's like, ugh.
You're gonna say, Eric?
It's just that everything was about just the liquid, the dangerous stuff was this sandy iron ore or something. Or it was
it's some sort of depleted uranium or something like this.
Yeah, in a bottle, and everything was about just check and see the champagne, drink this. I'm being poisoned. Everything was.
There's a lot of drinking. There's a lot of drinking in this movie.
It's a drink-heavy movie.
And what's interesting, the irony is that the heavy drinking is coming from her.
Yeah, and the movie really points out she's an alcoholic.
Yes.
Totally. This is the tension of the film is they don't make it romantic that she drinks a lot. It's like she's really putting herself. Yeah, this is a bad scene for her.
Yeah. So anyway, the thing that happens now is that basically he reveals to her who he is, right? And basically explains to her that he's, CIA or something like that, works for the government.
Yeah, OSS or whatever it is. Yeah.
And he says, I think that I know you still like the country. I still like this country, and you're not a Nazi like your father, and I need you to do something for me. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And basically,
you don't know anything about me.
Right? Yeah. And basically has more evidence on her that he showed that she knew something, not necessarily that she withheld information from the police that she should have told, even though she didn't actually do anything. She just basically
plays a recording that says you knew more than you said, right? But you are you can't play this off like you don't give a shit what your father was into. You were strongly against it, right? She is actually very pro-American,
right?
And so her anger comes from this place that she is she loves her mother. She is very pro-American because of her American mom, and the fact that that other people would so quickly just assume that she is anti-American is very upsetting to her. So it's sent her into this spiral of just I can't get a win in the war. I can't convince anybody of who I really am.
Right. So he tells her basically that there's a bunch of Nazis in Brazil, in Rio.
Not unrealistic.
Not unrealistic.
Yeah.
There's a great scene in Frasier where the Maris is they're at Maris's house and they have a maid. His name Marta, who's who's Spanish, right?
Right.
And so she speaks Spanish, but she doesn't really speak very good English. And then there's a German guy there, and so it turns out that she learns German. She knows German as well. And he says, "How does Marta know German?" She goes, "Apparently, she picked him up from a family that was in Guatemala."
Yeah.
Right after the war.
And after the war. Yeah, man.
And they're like, this expression is like, oh.
Like Argentina and Chile are
lots of Nazis.
There's I'm not saying people there are Nazis, but there are people there of strong German descent.
There are some very blue-eyed blonde people that live in
because of people that ran away from prosecution in the 40s.
Yeah, well, Boys from Brazil is another film we can.
Yeah, Boys from Brazil. There we go.
Anyway, so they go to Brazil, and he convinces her to go because of her situation with her dad, she could become friendly with these people and get more information from them. And she reluctantly does it, and they arrive in Brazil. so they fly out to Brazil to do that. I'm trying to skip ahead a little bit just so we have time to do it.
Like the thing is that he doesn't really know what the OSS is going to ask of her. He is just he is the lowest man on the totem pole. Yep. He is in there to bring her in. He's the contact, right? And then he's like, they're going to tell you what they need you to do.
When do that? And then you meet the other guy who is his boss, who's also on the plane,
right?
And so so they all sort of meet. Great shots of on the plane looking out at Rio.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Great shots. And then amazing, like, seriously, the amount of what would be considered virtual production today that's in this movie is unbelievable. So much rear projection.
Yeah, so like just even for casual shots, like getting out of the car and going up the steps. It's just like these little inserts left and right.
Yeah, just that, and then like their cafe scene.
Oh yeah,
which is an outdoor cafe in Rio. There's no way. It was all rear projection, and it looked great.
There's no way to film it. There's no real way to film that stuff.
Yeah, and they did just the right mix of having a couple people in the foreground, and then the rest was background, and then the street. You know,
it's all about good. Like that. Yeah, it's all about distracting people from what makes it obvious. Right. You know, and because like with rear projection and with virtual production, there's always like tells that if you know to look for them, you'll catch them. Now
it's called moray.
Moray, exactly. Yeah, like absolutely. So like it's like the screen door look for anyone who doesn't know what that is. The screen door sort of like patterns that appear, or like the black levels aren't matching, or the black levels in the projection are completely uniform, and too high. Like that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But like,
or if they accidentally shine a light on the screen.
Yeah, and it picks up exactly. Yeah. And so like really great stuff is when you draw people's attention away from those things, even if they show up, you don't see them. But the best way to hide it is to have a really great scene where you're not paying attention to any of that shit at all.
Yeah. Yep.
You make a good movie, and then there's no problem.
Absolutely. And so they definitely do that at this point, right? So the general thing that they find out at this point is that the person that she needs to contact is a guy named Alex Sebastian, who is someone that she knew through her father or something before. And she's very upset about it.
Because he liked her.
Because he liked her in the past, and he came on to her, and she pushed him away, right? And they're like, no, you'd like, and so they're like, oh, great. So this is like me. It's not just me making some contacts. I actually have to be involved with this guy, right? And so she's very upset. But
Cary Grant finds out first, and he's pissed.
Yeah. But actually, before that, when they're just hanging out in Rio, she starts to do this, coming on to him again. And she's like, you don't love me or whatever, like some kind of thing. And then he pushes him and he just breaks and kisses her. Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The scene, the dinner scene.
Yeah.
Like the dinner on the balcony scene.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
they have this great apartment.
It's this beautiful sequence that really presses at first it starts romantic and like gets kind of sexy and leads up to
rejection.
Just tell me you love me. Like clearly that's where we're at. Right. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
But I think it's in that scene. She says this line where she's like, because she's basically not making fun of it, but she's just sort of like playing it. Them
playing the housewife.
Yeah, exactly. And she's just like, I think I'd like to make dinner here. Again with the sexy talk. It's just like it's they're talking about sex. They can't tell. They actually say sex, right?
Right.
And she's like, I have a I have a frozen chicken that really needs defrosting or something like this, like some sort of like weird lines. And you're just like, okay, it's happening. This is good.
Right.
And it leads right up to the moment. And Grant does not commit the way that he clearly should, because he clearly loves her. And that's when he is called away to a meeting to find out what she's supposed to do.
Right. And they also did a great scene, another great shot from the balcony looking down, and it's a matte painting situation.
All those
the beach. Oh, so good.
There's a particular Hitchcock look to the way that he shoots architecture at night.
Yes.
that it's also in North by Northwest that I just love. It's
it's
really
bluish night. I love that
it's
stuff.
just beautiful, and it's like
This is
it's,
black and white, though.
this is black and white.
I know,
but it has
but
the same effect where it's like this. It has this almost
North by Northwest.
Yes, it's definitely
it's all
bluish.
blue.
I just want to
Yeah,
make sure that
blue.
listeners realize that this is a black and white
This is a
movie.
black and white. But this movie has these shots where it's like it looks surreal because there's enough light on the house that you can see all the details, but it's also sort of backlit and silhouetted by a luminous sort of city-ish sky. So it has that Magritte house in the darkness look, and it's just absolutely knockout. And it's like 5 or 6 shots in the movie just like that. And then North by Northwest is just over the top. It's incredible.
Right. So you start to realize that Cary Grant definitely has feelings for her, but he's also needs to carry out a job.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And she is both completely enamored with him and really angry at him.
Oh yeah, when he comes back and like he first hears about like the job is she's got to seduce Claude Rains, right?
Right.
And he's like, "What? I would never." He like you can see, it's like I never would have fucking asked her to do that. Like she's not going to do it.
She's not going to do that. And also, basically tells her like, no, she's not some kind of a prostitute.
She's not trash, which is what she was, like what she in the beginning was angry that people think that she is trash,
right?
And he is like he
then
stands
everybody
up
else starts to assume
right, and everyone in the OSS is also just like, well, we know what kind of person she is. Like she's basically like this. The CIA director in the group basically says she's a whore. Who cares? Like they all but says those words, And Cary Grant gets fucking.
What was the whole gag where he's good looking? Like I couldn't understand what was the point of that. I kept saying it a couple times with the character actor that was in North by Northwest.
Oh yeah, the older guy. Like he's a good looking guy. Yeah, I'm not totally sure.
Oh, the boss.
Yeah, the boss.
Yeah,
he's a popular actor at the time. You see him in a lot of stuff. Especially his voice for
North by Northwest.
Right. But yeah, like it
was just kind of like no, he's not.
He's a weird looking dude with a very small head. But he's a good actor.
But she says it on the plane, and then she says it again, and then somebody else said, "Oh, that good-looking fellow."
It might
was that an inside joke?
Maybe, yeah. It may be some Hollywood thing that's happening, but it also like it. Yeah, I think it leads. It makes it more plausible that she would find Claude Rains, who's a little bit too old for her, attractive. They play that up a lot. Like Claude Rains is like, well, work makes me look old, that kind of stuff. And you're just like, well, he's a little bit too old for her. Like, that's just how it is.
Right.
So they may be doing that to soften that blow a little bit. But the CIA, like the CIA are represented as bad or evil, but they are certainly completely careless of her. Like, it's like, she's just like, she's basically a hooker to them. And we're just going to use her.
Cannon fodder is what
cannon fodder. Yeah. Just like, she's going to go sleep with the guy and have a hand in the game. It's gonna be fun. And Cary Grant stands up for that. Says like, that's not who she is, et cetera, et cetera. But he still has to bring the news back to her. And so goes back to the same balcony to complete the other side of the dinner scene and basically lays it out like, this is what they want you to do. And she's like, I want you to tell me not to do this. They essentially like, tell me you love me and tell me you will be mad if I do this. I will do it because I love my country and this needs to be done. But I will only do that if you do not fucking care for me. And like, that's basically the shots she sets up. And he's like, you have to take responsibility for your own fucking choices and you can't lay that off on me.
Right.
And so you have to decide for yourself what you think is important. Ta-da. Right. And she's like, fine, I guess you don't love me. And he's like, fine, maybe I don't. And so she decides to follow through with the sleeping with Claude Rains and seducing him. And Cary Grant is like, maybe you're just exactly like what I was defending you against being called.
Right.
Because he's so pissed off. And he's because he's jealous and he's hurt. And it's kind of his fault.
Yep.
But he can't quite admit that to himself yet. And he still has to run her as an agent and be the contact to tell her, and sort of like, this is what the CIA does, and they have to meet constantly after that, and every meeting is just like it's grueling because they're so angry at each other because they love each other so much and they can't get by the fact that they love each other so much. Like, they can't get the job. Like,
That was like Chris and I when I first started this
that's what it
podcast.
was. Man,
It
that
was.
was,
It was so much love,
we
and,
ironed it
and the
out.
tension was
Yeah.
high.
But it is a
Dan,
very
you felt
sweaty
that tension.
podcast. It's
Oh
very
my
did.
god!
But
What?
it's a beautiful old school Hollywood setup.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of a spy movie, you have like this great, very beautiful 40s big star melodrama happening. And it's really unusual. It's a very unique flavor for a movie to have
Big
this, like,
star melodrama.
Yeah, I
that
love
sounds
that
like
stuff.
an indie band from the 90s.
Big star melodrama. I'm a big fan. All their
Tonight.
albums.
Yeah, like
Big Star-
Smashing opening for Smashing Pumpkins,
Big Star
Melodrama, and Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Exactly. But yeah, no, that's like, this is like I love big star melodrama in of the 40s. And this, like, you don't need the spy movie stuff for this movie to work because, like, these guys have great chemistry. The tension is awesomely set up, and they can pay off that, the big sort of sexual tension sequences forever. But for it to also be a great spy movie is my favorite part about it. But like, there's just not a lot of movies like that.
I know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so she where was I? Right. So she basically has to seduce Alex Sebastian, played by Claude Rains, and there's a couple of things going on here dynamically. It's all very polite flirting,
Yeah.
and seducing that's going on, and she's going along with it. There's also, what's the other thing that's happened? There was something else that was pretty.
Well, you start to get a little, like, once they start to hook up, her and Claude. Once she starts successfully doing this,
right.
you start
There's
to
the
get,
mother is involved too.
you
The
get
mother.
yes. I was going to say, like, you introduce the world of Claude Rains,
Mm-hmm.
right? And which is another sort of nice surprise about the movie. Claude Rains could just be an evil mustache twirling scumbag. Like, they could have gotten away with that pretty easily,
Right.
but instead he's a very sympathetic
Charming.
villain. But yeah,
Charming.
I feel bad. He's weak and not
It's the
like,
mother. Whole routine with the mother is just,
right, and it's not ugly weak. Like, you don't despise him, but he's a very, like, even from, because I mean, Claude Rains, and I think we all agree, is like an incredibly fucking charming actor. Like, you see him in whatever Lawrence of Arabia, or you see him in Casablanca, or he knows how to own the audience 100%.
Right.
But instead, he plays everything very sort of like he still has sort of jokey, playful lines, but he plays in this very sort of like withdrawn way, like he's not strong enough to throw the ball far, and it makes you just like you're going up against Ingrid Bergman, like one of the most beautiful women who has ever existed. And you just start to feel bad for the guy. You're like, it feels desperate, and she keeps on having to sort of like,
but I think that's great casting.
Oh, it's perfect. Well, the thing's been like,
they wanted Vivian Leigh though.
Well, Vivian Leigh, really? I know, Vivian Leigh would be terrible.
That was the first choice for the studios.
Oh no, she'd be terrible. I like Vivian Leigh, but it like, has to be Bergman, because like she's got such an eclectic, different vibe. Vivian Leigh is like straight, like that's just straight Hollywood, and like this needs to be a curveball. And so, like, whereas you have Rains has the ability to be like incredibly, even when he's much older, super charming, like very attractive. So it's amazing that he's doing this on purpose, that he can control his performance and let Cary Grant have all the sexiness, and not to be trying to rob the movie of what it needs, which is, he needs to be sort of weak and sort of pathetic. And that's what makes him dangerous. Isn't that he's evil, it's that he's weak. And
Right.
And so when you start to see it expand the details of the world that he's in, like, these are Nazis. These are like one of the, like, certainly the people that he's working for are literally Nazis.
Right.
But you never, at least I never feel hatred for the guy. I feel like you are digging your own grave the whole time. And he is more and more trapped by
Well, that's the whole point. They make a very strong point of him being trapped at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so what the big turning point here is when we really start getting involved and find out what she's doing. She gets invited to a dinner party at his house.
Yes.
With some people, and they say, "Okay, you're going to the dinner party. Find out who's there. Don't ask too many questions. We don't want to be suspicious, but remember everyone's name and try to figure out where they're from, what their nationality is." Right? So she goes there, and generally the party's like this. There's like four guys, I think there, maybe five. I think it's four people besides Sebastian that are there. One of them is the professor, as they find out, and the party was in his honor, and so they find out, she's like, okay, what's going on?
And there's that great row of introductions of all the guys.
Right. This is the so-and-so, and then they each one of them kisses her hand.
Kisses the hand and kisses the hand, yeah.
And they come into focus. That was so great.
And it's each one is played by like a classic character actor. Like, here's the simpering creep. Here's the Nazi guy. Here's it's an awesome sort of runway show of all these fucking scumbags. Yeah. It's really great.
Yeah.
But we have to point out, like, one of my favorite shots in the movie and one of my favorite character introductions of all time is the mother.
Right.
She's great.
Like, she is the evil. She is the villainous force of this movie. She's
absolutely. And she always looks like I disapprove. But the best one is when she lights up that cigarette in bed. Then she's like pure evil. Pure evil.
It's so good. I mean, it's like from the opening shot with her, like, it's a point of view shot from Bergman when she goes to the house for the dinner, right? Mm-hmm. And the camera rides in, like, it's so you enter the lair, right? And then out of the darkness at the top of the stairs comes the mother. And mother starts, and you're like, this, you can tell that this is the prequel to Psycho.
Yeah, it's absolutely the mother.
Her relationship to Claude Rains. Claude Rains is the Anthony Perkins character of this movie.
Oh,
he is the sympathetic villain. And when she comes down the stairs in this long ass shot, then passes through all these beautiful shadows that crawl over her face, and her face is a stone the whole time. Yeah. So it's like a ghost coming down, and she comes right up to camera, and you expect to catch some like glint of humanity in her eyes at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Nope.
Like, she is so empty and soulless. When she arrives at the door, you feel like it's like a bear has snuck up on you. It's just incredible. Incredible shot.
Okay. And so then where were we? So
at the party, yeah.
At the party. So the big thing that happens that's weird at the party that freaks is one of the guys looks at one of the wine and starts to point at it and freaks out at the wine bottles.
Right.
And then they kind of reassure him. And I was like, the
Fredo type.
Right. Yeah. And then she notices this situation, notes it in her mind. And then they have their classic thing that after the meal, the men are having cigars and having a conversation, right? And when that happens, the guy who freaked out about the wine is not there.
So sorry.
And they're like, we have to do something about him. And then when
how many times they've ripped this film off? When you watch certain scenes, you're like, God, I've seen this so many times. Subsequently, it's incredible.
And then so it's like the guy says, "Don't worry, I think I know what to do. It's a windy road, and I can jump out in time and take care of this guy." And they're like, "Oh, okay,
that's a great idea."
Great idea. And so they decided that's what they're going to do, right?
He's just going to kill the dude. Yeah, because he acted weird at the table in his giveaway. Some evil plots going on.
That's unbelievable. Just from one little mistake.
They're fucking Nazis.
Wait,
dude.
Can you not hear me, Alan? Oh, no, nothing. Sorry, never mind. Are you talking about the acclaimed 2002 film Mission Impossible 2? No, I'm not talking about Mission Impossible 2. Yes. And so that the bad guy says he's going to do that. And, he pretty much does that. But it's an important part of the thing. Two things we learned. One, something's going on with this wine. Two, if you do anything bad, you're out, right?
You're
Even
out.
just acting slightly suspicious or someone might know something, you're out, right? So that's the two things that are noted in this area, right? By the way, she doesn't know about him being killed, but we pretty much figure out what's going to happen, right? So yes, indeed, that guy gets killed, and now we're moving on in this thing, and then it's
Right. That sequence is basically there to set up the fact that if Claude Rains gets found out,
if someone
Claude
finds out that something's wrong with Claude Rains, he's going to get
off the cliff.
he's off a cliff, just like
right.
the other ones, right? And then there was what was the other? Oh, right. So then we have the horse. Then they go to the horse track, right? And
which is basically, it looks like Griffith Park.
Yeah, I know, it's like Santa Anita.
Yeah,
that's right.
No, when they're not the horse track, when they're at the taking the horse ride.
Yes, that's
with the white fences.
That's definitely Griffith.
That's Griffith Park. That's on the north side of Griffith. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sure. That's my side of town here.
Yep.
And then the other one is yes, but they go to the horse races, and she keeps trying to have to meet up with Cary Grant,
right?
Because of this situation. But Cary Grant sort of was present during the original reintroduction to Sebastian or Alex Sebastian, and Alex is jealous of Cary Grant because
Cary Grant,
because it's Cary Grant, right? And so he's like, "Do you like him?" He's like, "Oh no, I don't like him. But somehow Cary Grant is at the horse race, so he gets upset about this.
Right.
Very upset about it.
Like, I don't like him. Of course I don't like him. He's Cary Grant.
I'm behaving like a schoolboy.
Yeah. Sorry, just the line is, it's a one line in North by Northwest when he sneaks into the room, and the woman is like, he sneaks into the hospital room, and the woman's like, stop. And then he's like, oh, and then she looks at him and she goes, stop.
No, she puts her glasses on and she's like, stop.
And he goes, ah.
Na.
It's so good. So sexy. It's so funny.
Yep.
Anyway, so yes, there's this jealousy going on, at which point she goes, I don't know what I have to prove to you that I'm not interested in. It's like, I know what you have to do to prove to me you're not interested in. Marry me.
Yeah. And then she's like, okay.
There you go.
Right. And at which point they said he asked me to marry her. And she explains to the guys, and she says, what should I do? It's like, well, would you be willing to marry him?
Right.
So
exactly, because like it's a great way to test her character because of her background with her mom and her dad. Right. Like it's about her fealty to America, and like I love that she's like, in the beginning she's like, patriotism is bullshit, right? That's her line, and then she's in the position to show how patriotic she really is,
right?
And so she's like, and they're not even like really pressing her on it. They're not like, you have to do or we'll do something bad or turn up something bad about your past or blah. They don't threaten her at all. Like she's just like, it's weighing it like, how much do I love my country? This is actually important that I do this.
Sure.
Like I'm in the position to probably save a lot of lives and stop the Nazis. And so I should do this because of what I believe. But at the same time, it's obviously going against my feelings for Cary Grant.
And the fact that Cary Grant doesn't stop her,
like will not throw her a rope at all,
really pisses her off.
Yeah, and she's just like, just fucking say you love me, and this is all taken care of.
Right. And he doesn't do that, so she actually does get married to him, right? And the thing that I think is also telling is like, that's all she wants. She just wants some kind of acknowledgement, and she never gets it, so she's doing it out of spite, almost, right?
Yeah, right. No, she's definitely like, I think she's doing it because she wants to do the right thing in terms of like stopping the Nazis, right? Like that's the root of it. But like she is embittered about it, and so like her brattiness that you saw in the beginning, as Eric pointed out, makes her make very quick decisions about it. Like she's like, fine, fuck it, I'll do it. you know.
Yeah.
And so like the character is really, it's a really brilliantly designed character, because like she's not doing it just because she's like, fine, I'll show Cary Grant. Like she's really doing it for real reasons. But in the moment, she's just so fucking angry that she can't even take one more second of deciding this. Like she's like, fuck you, fine, you know.
Right.
I'll debase myself because you can't open your heart. I'll do this.
Right. The mother, of course, is very much doesn't like the fact that he's getting married to this woman.
Yeah,
Does
and she
not
sees
approve.
right through the whole thing the whole time. She just doesn't know exactly what's going on. She just
She's
knows
like,
that
well, he wants your money. She wants this. She wants that. She's like, she's after something.
And her reasoning is basically like, who the fuck would love you?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, she's so horrible.
You're a creep.
You're a weak creep.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, anyway, so at which point this leads up to an important part, which is they have a social, she's going around the house. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. She's going around the house to live there because now they're married, right? So she's starting to do things. And then there's a butler, obviously. It's a huge, huge house, by the way. I should mention that. Huge house. Butler. And then she notices that some of the rooms, the closet, there's not enough closet space, and the closets are locked, and the mother has the key.
Yes.
Right? And so she's upset about this. He's like, can I have the key so I can put my stuff away? And the mother's like,
absolutely not. Frau Blucher says no.
Yeah, it's very Frau Blucher. Yeah. Or the nurse from High Anxiety.
High Anxiety, exactly. Same actor, right? So that's but as Eric points out, I mean, it's just like this is all about the closed door. Like the closed door is the key is like the
you open up the doors and yeah. And so she opens up all the closets, and then there's still one that won't open, right?
Wine cellar.
The wine cellar. Yeah. It's like, aha, remember the wine? Yeah, that's about the wine cellar. Turns out it's like, well, where's this key won't open the wine cellar? It's like, no, that's another key, and that is Mr. Sebastian who has that key. Right. Says the butler. It's like, aha. So she looks at the name on there's a name of the lock on the lock, and then she tries to figure out
Unico, right?
Unico, yeah.
Unico, right. And so she finds the key with the same name on it on the keychain that her husband has, right? And so they're like, I can't, Cary Grant says, I have to get involved. Invite me to the party. I'll help figure out how to get into the cellar.
And
right?
what's really lovely about this whole sequence, right, is like she has to go to Claude Rains to ask about the keys and all this kind of jazz. Claude Rains is acting like he sees that there's an issue in letting her explore the house. Like you can see that he's like, fuck, like I gotta be careful about this, because there's a secret that he's hiding from her, obviously. Mm-hmm. But he makes the choice to let her in, which Cary Grant doesn't. Like he is doing the thing that the audience wants.
Well, he loves her.
He loves her, and because he loves her, he opens his house and heart to her, and that's what gets him fucked, right?
Right.
Which is what Cary Grant is afraid of, and why he won't open his house and heart to her.
Right.
Like it's a perfect inversion. That's what makes him a great villain.
Yeah.
And instead of because usually like villains, I mean, it's like the classic Raiders of the Lost Ark thing when Belloc says like it would only take just a touch to push you out of the light and make you like me, right? But in this case, Cary Grant's the good guy, but the bad guy is doing the good thing.
Right.
And so he's freely doing this and accepting her.
But I think you're absolutely right. Like he's not the bad guy. You think he's the bad guy, but he really isn't. The real bad guy is the mother.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't have the backbone that Cary Grant does.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that is his flaw. But Cary Grant's flaw is that he doesn't have the openness of heart that Claude Rains does.
Right.
Which is Claude Rains' weakness, which is why Cary Grant is afraid to open his heart.
Right.
It's just like you couldn't make it more elegant than that. Like that's exactly how you want to design a character. It's perfect.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, so at this point, right. So the wine cellar is what needs to happen. So what they do is they say, how are we going to get to the wine cellar? And it's like, how about you convince him to have a big party and you invite me to the party and I figure out how to get into the wine cellar, right? At which point now she sees the keys on the counter, finds a way to get the key while he's not looking and holds on to the key. She doesn't actually get into the wine cellar, but she just needs the key, right? And then they have the party, at which point there's this, that incredible shot that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast.
Diving down.
All the way. It's an amazing shot, incredible shot. And right now, what they need to do is it's like she slips the key to Cary Grant and has to figure out how to get him to the wine cellar, right? But there's a problem because they're serving champagne to a bunch of people. And they're like, if they run out of champagne, they're going to need to go to the cellar to get more champagne.
And so we're screwed.
And we're screwed, right? So we have to get to the cellar before they run out of champagne.
Yes.
Right?
There's so many different lines of tension in this setup.
Yes.
It's fucking incredible.
And there's just more and more glasses of champagne are coming out. Right. She's starting to get nervous. So, oh shit, we better get there soon before, and then keep looking at the bottles. There's fewer bottles as we go. And it's just like this tension, right?
Yeah, the champagne acts as both like the fuse and the sort of motivation at the same time.
Right.
You have like the mother is trying to control what is happening. You have Cary Grant as he's trying to get in the cellar. You have Ingrid Bergman's trying to distract her husband. The husband is jealous of Cary Grant, and like it's like every single direction there's a reason for tension. And then Hitchcock is just like serving up the stakes. Like, he's just like,
yeah. And so finally, after all of that, Cary Grant gets to the basement through the back. She lets him in. I'm trying to get through this because it's going to take forever.
Sure.
And so he gets inside. He looks at what's going on. He's trying to identify anything weird in the cellar. And he's just not a little confused about it. But then as he's looking at some chart, he accidentally knocks down a bottle. As the bottle breaks on the ground, it doesn't have liquid. It has this sand in it, as we were mentioning earlier, right? And he was like, that's weird. And it's like, so he tries to get a sample of the sand and then put everything back, right? So he says, find me another bottle like this one, and we'll put it in there and put it back on the shelf. So he puts it all back together, puts it on the shelf, and moves on, right? But as they do that, he's like sweeps up and cleans up as much as possible. As they do that, they realize, oh shit, they're coming, right? And so it's almost too late, like get out of here. And then Cary Grant says, no, I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to make him think that we're having an affair or something, and starts kissing her, right? So start this tension between her and her husband.
Which is a great play because like it keeps him from being politically suspicious and then makes him sexually suspicious.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a really good choice on Grant's part. But once they start making out, like the whole beginning 20 minutes of the movie comes right back.
Right.
You're like, oh yeah, these guys really want to get it on.
Yeah. And so she's upset about it. And then he says, no, I was drunk and she rejected me. And he's like, yeah. And so they try to pretend that like he was just coming on to her and she rejected it. And it's just
a masher. Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, nope. And then Claude Rains is not happy.
Yeah, he's bullshit across the spectrum.
Bullshit.
I hate that dude. I distrust you. Everything's bad. But he's not being suspicious in the right way, which he should be suspicious, which is they're here because of the fucking plutonium in the bottles or whatever the fuck it is.
Uranium.
Uranium. And so like clearly that it's like the Nazis are trying to make atomic bombs should be foremost in his mind. Like, I'm trying to help the Nazis make atomic bombs. And instead he's just like, oh, he's fucking that guy.
Yeah.
And it's perfect.
Right. I can't remember how it
and then so like it's he's like trying to let it go, and then he discovers that his key is missing, right? And
he's because he wants to get. He's suspicious.
He's like, and he just goes, and you can see his.
He looks at his key ring to get the champagne, and is like, and he's like, the key's missing.
Right.
And he goes, you know what?
It start to come together.
We don't need champagne.
We don't need champagne. We have other wine and whiskey.
And the brilliance here is that if he were any of the other Nazis, and he wasn't distracted by love, he would have figured it out instantaneously what's happening, right? But because he is so totally sold, even on the cheating with Cary Grant scenario, everything, right? Like, because of that, he doesn't want to believe that this is true, right? And it gives him basically.
I think he's more worried about what his mother will think.
Yeah, like he's like, I am starting to suspect that I'm in a trap, but I don't know what the trap is.
Right. And so the party goes on. He's very suspicious at this point. He figures he's starting to piece things together.
Right. But Grant
he puts the keys down on the table, the keychains on the table, and then she sneaks in somehow in the middle of the night and puts the key back. Right. Mistake. Then he goes and looks at the keychain and is like,
the key's back.
So he goes down to the wine cellar.
But he wakes up in the middle of the night because he suspected her.
And then he goes down to the wine cellar. Everything seems okay, but then he notices the sink's been on. There's water there. And he knows where the bottles are, right? So he's looking through the bottles and he notices the dates on the bottles, all 1934, 34, 34, and then 40.
Right. And you're like, oh no.
I was like, wait a minute. And then he notices the foil isn't quite right. And he looks and then, that's not right. And then he goes underneath, looks at the ground. He notices there might be something. He puts his hand in it and he pulls out some of the dust, uranium dust, and then pieces of glass, and then notices a broken bottle of 1934.
And you're like, oh no.
Oh no. Oh no. And at which point it's like,
I gotta go see my mom.
I gotta go see my mom. Wakes up the mother in the middle of the night. She's like, well, what's going on? He goes, I think we've been compromised. I think she's working for.
I knew it.
And then she at which point the mother who's like lights a cigarette and goes,
she's like watching her get psyched in that scene.
She's excited. She loves the fact that suddenly, instead of going, oh shit, we screwed up, she goes, I knew it.
Because initially it's like he's like, I'm suspicious of my wife, and she's like, oh, you can see her start light up just emotionally, like, oh, here it comes. Like she's really like, oh yes, there's an in. And then he's like, I think she's a spy. And that shot when he says it is one of my very favorite shots.
Down,
it's he is very good at oh my god, I've been messing up the whole time. I can't believe
he puts it all together, and it's this unbelievable. This single shot is something you do not see in any movie of the period at all. It's ultra close and it's very high, so you're seeing only his eyes sort of tip down like this in this razor thin focus, and he's like, I think I'm married to essentially a spy,
right?
And that's when the mother's like, this is the fucking jackpot. I'm
right. You never listen to me. It's like,
and she's fucking, as you said, she lights up a cigarette like she's just at a sex scene. She's just like, oh yeah.
Yes. We finally have an excuse to kill her.
Oh my god.
I can finally kill her. And so they decide that they have to make it, how do we kill her? They're going to slowly poison her.
Yeah, because you can't get rid of her all at once. That's too suspicious. That'll give the game away.
Right.
The CIA will know that we know. And so no. And of course, this is the mother's dream. She's just like, we need to kill her slowly. It's hysterically funny.
Right.
It's hysterically funny. It's so good. And so they plan to poison her and poison her with coffee. And
coffee. And so slowly, she's slowly over several days, she's starting to get sicker and sicker. And she's still meeting with Cary Grant, and he's
Did they ever say what it was that poisoned her?
No. It's probably arsenic.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, they play it out, the whole thing.
Saccharin? It was what? Sweet and low?
Yeah, it's sweet and low. It's it's what's that guy? It's what's the new stuff they use, that the plant extract? Oh god, that would kill me. That's a Nazi plant, if anything.
Vesta or something?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why people ever buy that stuff. But in any case, yeah, she's the slow poisoning is great because even with Grant, she's like, no, it's because I'm drinking too much. It's like some sort of
right. Because she doesn't want to, but she doesn't even know she's.
She knows she's feeling shitty, right?
She knows she's feeling shitty, but she doesn't.
But she's starting to feel really shitty. She's like, and so she's just like, no, it's a fucking hangover because I'm a partying whore, just like you think I am.
Yeah,
you dick.
Yeah. And then so finally she's starting to put things together. She's explaining there's something that with the police chief as well doing something. Anyway, she talks to him, finds out from the professor, like, oh, like we should go on a cruise. We should do this,
Right.
we should do that. And then she's like, oh, finish your coffee. Keep finishing your coffee. They keep pushing coffee to her.
Just keep on drinking that shit. Keep on doing it.
Yeah.
But the
And
guy
then-
that's in the room with them is just like, oh no, you should get out and have like he's proposing all these things like get out away from your husband and all this, like go and see the mountains and
it's like,
Claude
I
Rains
am
is
going to the mountains. There's a wonderful place. And so it's like, now we know, because that's the thing. They need to figure out where the uranium is,
yeah, right.
where they're getting it. And like,
Right.
I'm going to these great mountains up here. Oh, there was a hilarious line. I got to tell you this.
Yeah.
Because I wrote it down here. Hold on a second. Oh God. It's something about her name. Her name was in there. So it's like, oh, trivia. Yeah. She asks if she goes, I'm going to go to these specific mountains or whatever. And goes, oh, is that near the town of Leopoldina? Right. The actress who plays the nun, her name is Neopoline.
Right.
Or Leopoline. Yeah.
Right,
So it's the same name as the mother, right? And it's like,
Right.
oh, it's a lovely town, this town, or whatever. Anyway, so that's part of the little joke there. But anyway, so she is at this point, she's figured out where the uranium is from, and she's figured out that she's being poisoned.
Right. Oh, because the guy's about to walk away with her coffee. Like he's just
right. Because like, no, don't drink that coffee.
no.
That's not your
Yeah, the
coffee.
mother
He
is-
Right.
mistakes it, and
Yeah.
he grabs it, and they're like, no, and then
But that's the
she
wrong coffee. And she's like, oh my God.
starts to realize, and then she
Starts to realize- right. And then she says, okay, she's trying to figure out, she needs to get out of there, right?
Yeah, but she's too weak. Like
She's too weak, and she tries to get to her room, and she passes out.
Right.
At which point, they lock her in her room and say,
Right.
we're going to make sure you get better. You need some rest.
Yeah, and lots of coffee.
Lots of
Lots of
coffee. And so they have her locked up in there, right? At which point,
And then Cary Grant's supposed to meet her for their regular meet, right?
Right.
To get up,
and she doesn't show up.
She doesn't show up.
Right.
And so initially she plays it off like, oh yeah, I'm just partying, and like basically like reminding him that he's a prick.
Right.
Like I'm slipping back. I'm backsliding in my old ways, just the way you thought I would. And
Right.
he's like, yeah, exactly, sure, right.
Right.
But then she doesn't show up, and he's like, I might be an asshole. I might like she may be in terrible danger, and I was too much of an idiot to see it.
Right. Okay. And then, hold on. What's going on? Okay. So at this point, he's like, I gotta go.
I gotta go get her out.
I gotta go get her out. Right. And they're like, how are you gonna do that? It's like, well, I'll just say I'm a friend of the family, just checking in on her, see what's going on. Hey, how you doing? And so at which point he just rings the doorbell. The butler's like, it's like, I just want to see, Alicia. Right. And and then it's like, she's very sick. It's like,
right.
Oh,
how long has she been sick?
How long has she been sick? About a week. Right. And like,
Can I see Claude Rains?
Claude
no,
Rains.
He's meeting with some Nazis.
He's meeting with some people. I was like, okay. All right. And so at which point it's like, oh, we'll be right with you. Right. At this point, he sneaks upstairs to try to find her. Right.
This is the scene that I described earlier when crouching in the room. It's fantastic.
Right. And so she's extraordinarily weak. She's in bed. Right. They are, and then he rescued, like, very romantic scene as we described.
And this is the final breakdown of their tension. Like,
yes,
he can't help. He basically, in order to get her out of the house, he has to overcome his own problems and really telling her how he feels. Right. And so he's just like, I'm a fucking moron. I'm completely in love with you, and I'm so sorry that I almost lost you. We have to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
And like she's now, she's like, now they can express, like, all this other shit is forgiven in that one scene, and they are now a unit and essentially married. Like this is the bedroom, because the scene is a straight up a bedroom scene, literally.
Right.
But it's not a sexy scene, but it's a very, very intimate love scene.
Right.
And when he brings her up out of that room, that's the emotional success of the movie for the both of them.
Right.
But they still have to escape.
They still have to escape. So he's picking her up to take her out. Right.
Mhm.
At which point Claude Rains realizes, oh shit, he's not where he's in the library or whatever he's supposed to be. He's
Right.
roaming the house. Right. And the mother is also like, oh shit.
Oh no.
And so
Things gone
they
wrong.
grab her, like he grabs her, and they confront each other. Right. And they're like, nope, we're gonna walk out of here.
Right.
Because she needs to get to a hospital. And you're not gonna say anything. Because remember what happened to the other guy who fucked up.
Yeah.
And what your friends did to him. Right. And so you're just gonna let this one go.
Right.
And you're like,
it's like they're all on the top of the stairs,
right?
And then the Nazis come out of the Nazi room
and going, "What's going on?"
What's like, still going on?
She's sick.
And they all start creeping down the stairs, and the mother's like, just like you have like the mother who has said, "Let's kill her," and has been looking forward to killing her, is now like, we have to get her to a hospital. So we can keep up with the lie that is that. Like, so we can keep you from being murdered, right? And he's like, you can see Claude Rains is like, I've been betrayed. I know they're spies,
right?
Like, it's an utter disaster.
So now Cary Grant's got her. He's still got her, and they're like, okay, we'll get the car, right? The Nazis are like, okay, well, hopefully she'll be okay.
So Claude Rains essentially, he has the moment to he's like, do I have backbone or no?
Right.
And he essentially fails and saves them, which is brilliant.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. They get into a car, at which point Cary Grant closes the door and says, "You're on your own, buddy."
He's the asshole.
And at which point this is very, very suspicious to the Nazis, right? And they're going to go, wait, why didn't you go in the car with your wife to the hospital?
Begging, like, please take me with
please take me with you. Take me with you. And he's like, see you later. And it drives off. And that's the end of the movie.
That's it. He's like,
it's a great end.
The fucking Nazis who are standing
there's the Nazis going,
doorway.
So we need to talk, Mr. Sebastian. What's going on? And that's it. You realize they get away with it. She's going to be.
She's saved. They're going to get married. Everything's wonderful. And he fucking has to go get thrown off a cliff.
Yeah. And the mother is probably in trouble too.
Yeah, I mean they're both dead.
They're all both dead.
They're both fucking dead, completely dead.
Yeah,
and
they also know where the uranium's from because she said where the mountain is.
Yeah, exactly. It's everything is solved, and the thing is, like, none of it feels like a Deus Ex Machina. It's not like nothing comes out of the blue. Like, it's all just getting there slowly over the course of the plot. And it all falls together exactly right.
It's the perfect, I wish they made endings like that.
Oh, it's out of this world.
I remember that from.
I'll tell you that it's the exact opposite ending of was the last Lord of the Rings film, where it took like an hour to end.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, some of all these lines. Things like everyone complains about that. I don't like the thing is like with the thing is like there's no way to end Lord of the Rings without ending all the stories. Like, for as long as it takes, like, you do have to end those stories, or those movies going to feel incomplete. But it really shows how difficult it is to land it as perfectly as Notorious does. Like, Notorious has a zillion threads, and they all end up. They measure them out so well that when all the threads fall down, they all end up at the same point, and it's over in a single scene. Like, that's what you want. It's extremely, extremely rare. But it's like you can name I can have like that and Jaws, maybe, you can when you could just end the movie when we solved the scene, everything's done, we don't have to do anything else, credits. Like, that's an extraordinarily rare thing to do, and it's Notorious for being as complex as it is. It's like, it's sort of shocking. It's like, wow, that worked. How'd that work?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Okay, so where
sexy, beautiful spy shit, beautiful people, Cary Grant.
Nazis. 1946 Nazis, Cary Grant, Ingrid Bergman, who is
gorgeous. Everything, just beautiful, handsome, everybody, beautiful fan. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Lots of fun.
Yep.
Lots of fun. Okay. So that's good. Hopefully this will not dissuade you from watching this movie because you should watch this.
It's on
It doesn't
Tubi.
matter. It's good.
It's on Tubi. Oh, I'm going to do a little, I think I mentioned it before we were recording. I don't know if I mentioned it after recording, but this is on Tubi.
Yeah.
And we have been fans of Tubi, and we're not sponsored by them at all.
Yeah. This is just motivated by sheer love.
By sheer love, because Tubi has got, even though it's got a ton of stuff, some of it's not great, but there's some gems inside of there that you should totally check out. The other thing, and it's ad supported, so you're going to go ad supported, right? I will tell you this: I use a Brave browser to watch my stuff. Brave has the built-in ad blocker. I had no ads on Tubi.
That's amazing, dude.
So it looked like it stopped to do an ad, but then it went right back to the movie.
Go back to the movie. It's a little hiccup. That's it.
And that's it. And so the other thing that's amazing about Tubi is that because it's ad supported, they don't even require you to create a login to watch it. You can just go there, go to search, type in Notorious, and watch it without ads or anything. If you have ads, and it's really good. It's really good.
And I have to say that there's, especially watching older movies, like watching Notorious on Tubi.
Yeah,
like the fact that it's broken up by ads reminds me of being like 12 years old and watching these same kinds of movies on TV.
On like TNT or whatever.
And I'm just like, this is fucking awesome. This is exactly
AMC. It used to be AMC. Remember when AMC actually used to be classic movies?
Do you remember Blockbuster?
Yeah. Oh, these days. That's
and
true.
The other thing I think we mentioned before, Canopy, man. It's a gem.
Yeah, it's great. Incredible.
Incredible
selection.
Yeah.
Wild shit on Canopy. Like I'm like, how did they even know that this existed? And you get like 10 rentals for free. Like it's perfect. Great stuff. Those are the ads we are not paid to say. We're
not paid. I'm just telling you, this is a resource that you guys can use 100%. To get into. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So wonderful Cary Grant, Ingrid Bergman. Was this after Casablanca? It was after Casablanca, right?
Yes.
Casablanca is 40,
45, 43, maybe 43. No, it has to be. No, of course it's 43. I'm 46 after the war. 43. So if Casablanca has to be 42, maybe.
It is for 41.
42, 41. And this is after that. Yeah.
So Blanca is 42. Yeah, and this was 46. This came out in 46.
So this is post-war, still dealing with Nazi cleanup.
Right, but they also they put the Nazis in the right place. They put them in.
Yeah, because the Nazis have fled and they've gone to South America.
South America.
And so
they're building an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because like a lot of people think about, and I used to think about it this way, like World War II, when they're like, oh, and then the war was over, and then you feel like, oh, and then the war was instantly over. Like there was so much shit that went on for many, many years, and like the denouement of that war went on for quite some time, and trying to track down all these motherfuckers, like that takes through to the late 70s.
Yeah, man.
It's really, really intense. Yeah.
Boys from Brazil, Marathon Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Marathon Man. I keep bringing up Brazil. It's such a crappy movie, but it's so
shitty, but it's fun. It's so much fun. It's goofball, but it's really,
I remember I didn't think it when I first saw it, I was a teenager. I thought this is cool.
Oh yeah. It's still, I would say it's still cool. It is silly and bad, but it's very, very cool.
It's Laurence Olivier and Gregory Peck. For God's sake, these are not
delivering two. Like there's Over the Top, and then there's Boys from Brazil.
Yeah,
Boys from Brazil makes Over the Top look like down on the ground.
Has anyone in chat ever seen Boys from Brazil, or just talking crazy town? Because it is an insane premise.
Please see that movie. It's so much fun. It's like that is pure.
The basic premise is Laurence Olivier is a Nazi hunter.
Yeah.
Right,
and he has this like ridiculous accent, like it's
ridiculous accent. And Gregory Peck has an even more ridiculous accent. Gregory Peck is an ex-Nazi who lives in Brazil and has spliced genes, the genes of Hitler, and sort of created clones of Hitlers and in people around the world to try to get little Hitler to be born and also be raised in certain life situations that would turn him into Hitler.
To turn him into exactly.
Yeah. So he's got like a little American Hitler, a little all these different Hitlers around the world.
It is a blast. The movie's a blast, and
It's,
also the book is really good and fun too. It's written by Ira Levin, who also wrote Rosemary's Baby. So it's actually it's a good read. It's really fun. It's pulpy, but man, it's out of control. And then the movie is pulpy and sort of silly. It's just hysterical.
Yeah, and then Marathon Man is another crazy one too.
Yep,
that's pretty
and Olivia is much better in that doing.
Much better in that one.
Because Olivia is a good guy in Boys from Brazil.
Somehow Marathon Man, I got a lot of Marathon Man vibes in Uncut Gems. It's maybe because of the Diamond District stuff, but still. True, right. Yeah. But it was. But
they must love that movie. Yeah.
Oh, but there's also like a lot of
New York grit,
stuff,
that stuff. Yeah, the city grit stuff is much the same for sure. But yeah, boy, oh boy, yeah. It's boys from Brazil. If you think my accent's bad, I sound like I'm like what's her name? Who does accents perfectly? Sophie's Choice.
Meryl Streep.
I'm the Meryl Streep of Nazi accents compared to Gregory Peck.
We'll see your peppers.
It's alarming.
It's alarming. What was the Germans? They call that the Indiana Jones accent. Like all the Germans in Indiana Jones are so ridiculous. Their accents are so stupid.
Like, I am my family's German. I know plenty. Like say you're German. Like the German accents are German accents. That's not a German accent in the slightest.
No,
this is like cartoon weirdo Indiana Jones bad guy accent. It's incredible.
Yeah, top secret German accent.
Top secret Germans. 100%. Very, very valuable in movies where you want to kill people freely without feeling bad.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, now. One of the greatest of Hitchcock films.
Nice.
There's a lot of good ones. This one's up there.
This is real joy.
Yeah,
it's a really fun one.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous story. It is in also Cary Grant is involved and Ava Marie Saint, right?
Ava Marie Saint is terrific.
And Perry Mason. So you have two great accents.
Can I do a booze break for a second?
Oh, hit it. Absolutely. Drink some for me, please. Good Lord.
Yes. Actually, yeah. You take a booze break, and then when you come back, I'll take one.
Okay.
And then we'll keep going. I'm not even going to go to ads, guys. We're just going to keep on going.
Burn through it. We only got an hour and 15 for North Bend Northwest.
Oh no, that's not enough time. But we're going to do our best. Oh wait, I'll talk about the title sequence. Because it's Soul Bass.
Soul Bass, very designy, and Eric should be here for this.
Yes, and Eric should be here for the Soul Bass stuff. So we'll talk about something else. We'll talk about wait until he comes back.
The only bad thing about North by Northwest is that I love the soundtrack so much. I hum it for weeks afterwards.
Yeah, no, it gets stuck in your head.
It's really up there.
Yeah, and just this scene right here, you can just like the excitement.
Yes,
and then there's two themes. There's the love one, and then there's the action one, right? Which is good. So another big thing, Notorious isn't necessarily a very funny one. North by Northwest is hilarious.
That's a funny movie.
It's a funny movie, right?
Yeah, Cary Grant is not going to be funny in Notorious at all.
No, he's not funny in Notorious. I mean, he says some lines that make
some good lines,
but nothing like. North by Northwest. It is just pure comedy, and keeps it going. So it is just
his early career is mostly like slapstick comedy. Like it's really, really like
but he did great
and stuff like that.
Arsenic and Old Lace, but he also what's the other one that's hilarious? The one with Sophia Loren. The boathouse or a houseboat. Remember that one?
Oh, Houseboat. Yeah, I mean, like he's one of the great comedians in film.
Yes,
like, absolutely. I mean, he's a great serious actor. He's a great comedian. But he had such like he is probably my all-time favorite movie star for guys. Like he just does it all. Like he can handle everything, and he's incredible. Even into old age, he's still very good, very charming, and he always redesigns himself to fit his age.
When did he pass away?
It must have been 70s, 80s, maybe. Not sure. Let's find out. Yeah, he's
86.
86. Yeah, he is a like I like most actors, especially movie stars, like where they fail is that they try to maintain the charm that they had when they were in their 20s. And even for like it's much harder on actresses who like like if when they try and do that, like it gets very, very difficult for them. But even for men who there's a lot more leeway in what we allow for men's physique and stuff to collapse, like there are only a few people like Tom Cruise who basically remain Tom Cruise, just like, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm 60 years
Turning
old.
60 for God's sakes.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
crazy.
But
Yes.
but Cary Grant was very, very aware of how to change as an actor as he aged. And he is very like when he's young, he's extremely physical and jokey and slapstick and sort of like like in Arsenic and Old Lace, he's absolutely hysterical, and it's as big and broad a performance as you can possibly ask for. It's huge,
Right.
It's like absolutely, it's like blah, he's like an anime character, right? But he does it incredibly well, and then he starts maturing when he starts doing like the Bring Up Baby and stuff like that, where it's like
Mr. Blanding's
Blanding's Dream House, and like where like because especially when he's working with Hepburn, right? He is like she is so sort of snappy and smart and grown up feeling that he raises his game a little bit and starts being like, no, I'm an adult. I'm just an adult that has like keeps on having little issues and problems and stuff like this. Like he's no longer slapstick, and then he moves into adult Cary Grant, which is Notorious. Where he's a sexy man who has, like a real moody flavor to him. And then he gets to Cary Grant. And Cary Grant is the star of North by Northwest. Like this is when he has mastered it all. He's like, I know how to be sexy, I know how to be playful, I know how to be jokey, I know how to be serious, I know how to be super tan, and I wear a suit like nobody's business.
He is a little on the he is a little on the
said too. Yeah,
he's
like,
a little on the Donald Trump scale of tan.
He is very, 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 very.
This is back when tan would like what's Hamilton?
It's
George Hamilton.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's true, man. He looks like he has just spent like a week like on the beach, literally living on the beach.
Yeah, and there's a lot of glossiness to him as well.
But he's doing it all in this movie.
He's very orange. But anyway, so the next thing is first I want to talk about, I want to wait for Eric to come by. The title sequence is Soul Bass, absolutely classic title sequence. So good.
And I want to throw in just quickly this from the opening title design sequence. This is a highly architectural movie. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And yes, the architecture of Madison Avenue is featured in pure modernism here. Now, this title sequence was 100% ripped off for Mad Men.
For Mad Men, for Mad Men.
Mad Men,
it inspired Panic Room for sure.
It inspired Panic Room, but for Mad Men, it was 100% ripped off. And in fact, I talked to Karen Fung, who is the director of that title sequence over at Imaginary Forces, and she's like, "Yes, we 100% ripped off."
Yeah, just go for it.
Because they wanted to get the style of this, which was the Madison Avenue Advertising Agency, which is where this movie starts. Yep. He is basically the same character from Mad Men. The martini lunches.
Yeah. he's not a scumbag, but yes, it's the same flavor. It's like it's the romantic vision of the Manhattan businessman.
Right.
Ad guy.
Yeah. And he's an ad guy. And
was the thing though. That was the ad guy thing.
Yep. He's charming and quick and drinks as much as you would in like The Thin Man.
And by the way, can I say that a lot of the Jack Donaghy and the relationship with his mother for 30 Rock, I think, I feel was taken from that.
Oh yeah, it's like the joke version. Exactly. Yeah. Mother.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
30 Rock
yeah,
is
like from the get-go, he is in a walk and talk where he's just throwing out the lines. He's just like, let's get to business. I'm telling jokes.
yeah, telling jokes. And he's basically talking to his secretary. His secretary is very important to getting shit done, right?
Yeah, she's like
just
the
taking
sidekick.
notes.
Yeah.
She's a psychic, and he's like, do this, I need to get this guy, and blah, 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 blah. He steals cabs to get to where he needs to go, and where he's going is to get a cocktail with other people, right? Customers. So there's like, we already got started on our martinis, right? And he's like, oh, great, I'll catch up, don't worry, right? That's the whole thing. So but this is an important, very important details, because the way that this thing happens is key. He is talking to his secretary. His secretary says, you got to get in touch with mom about the thing, about the play, call her up and this thing. And she's okay, go. And then he's like, she leaves and he goes, oh crap, I forgot to tell her she's not going to be at her house and her phone's going to be disconnected. So I don't know how she's not going to be able to get in touch with her. So he sends a telegram. So he sits down at the table to give to meet these guys, and he's like, I just realized I got to get a telegram to my mother. I
just wanted to point out, where is he? He's at the plaza, and where is he?
Where? Oh, the Oak Room.
That's right.
He's in the Oak Room. Yeah, that's right. The Oak Room.
My coaster at my desk here, ever since I've moved here, or actually back in LA, for those watching, is a plate
from the Oak Room.
From the Oak Room.
There we go.
They have a tradition every New Year's Eve where you take these metal plates and you drop them and make a sound on the floor, the tile, as though when the ball drops exactly at midnight.
Wow.
So I was walking through the city. I was with a bunch of friends, and like 84, 85, we're like, oh my God, the ball's going to drop. We're going to miss it. We were drunk on our asses. Like, just go to the Oak Room. We went to the Oak Room, and it was all these older people there. And we're just like, put the plate up. We put the plate up, and then I put it in my back of my jacket. I took it. So nice. And basically that's it.
That's amazing.
And it's like a pewter. It's like a metal.
Yeah.
So every day I look at this, and when I saw it, I'm like, that's the Oak Room.
That's hysterical. That's great.
But I've actually been to that house where they took them to.
Oh,
when I used to work in film, I actually drove Elgort.
You guys keep talking. I'll be right back.
To that house. And when I drove through the entrance with Arthur Elgort, who's the father of the young
Elgort. Yeah. Ansel Elgort.
Yeah.
He was just in Tokyo Vice.
Love Tokyo Vice.
Tokyo Vice fucking rock.
And I was like, oh my God, this is the house from North by Northwest.
That's
and we both looked at each other and we're like, that's the house from North by Northwest.
That's the bookcase full of booze. Look at this. It's so good. Yeah, that's amazing, dude. Yeah, that's like
very funny.
And like it's like if I ever wanted to get a movie prop, I would get any of the things that say his initials on them, the ROT. Like I think that's just ever since I was a kid, I was like, why is that so fucking cool? Like he just says like the handkerchief with ROT.
I don't have, I have stuff, but I do have in one of my trunks is when I was in Malta. I got all the desk props for Jeff Bridges in White Squall.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good.
So it's like all the notes he had and all the little pictures of family and stuff. Yeah. I nabbed those. I just kind of walked on set at the end of shooting. And I was like, man.
Dave, 3D guy in chat, appreciates the tale of thievery.
Does he?
Yes, it says, I love when podcasters admit their misdemeanors on the air. Absolutely. Well,
hey, you know what? I was not of clear mind, and I regret it.
I don't think you should excuse that at all. I think it's beautiful. In fact, like I've been on a misadventure with rather misdemeanor with Dave 3D.
You've been on a misdemeanor?
Yeah, because and now that he's passed, the amazing Douglas Trumbull will never catch us.
Oh, right. We told the story before.
For breaking into a special effects place and wandering around and stealing a pen.
You stole his pen. That's right.
And then we're caught by him and told them.
You were caught by him?
Yeah. Just as we were exiting, we tried to pretend like we were waiting for a tour. And he's like, get the fuck out. He's like, no tours. Yep. It was fun. So misdemeanors
Okay,
plus.
I do want to just real quick piggyback on the Oak Room story. Guess where I'm having dinner tomorrow?
The Oak Room.
No.
Oh,
Musso and Frank's.
Frank.
Musso and Frank's. God bless. God bless.
Mhm.
It's been a while since it's been the Musso and Frank's. Always good. I had a lot of martinis.
Very excited. We're going to do that, and then we're going to go see Chris Rock.
Oh, sick. That's great.
Okay, so
So he goes
right.
to-
So he goes. Okay, so right. So it's important sequence of events. Right. So he goes there specifically to catch to try to do a telegram. As he's doing a telegram, there's a bellboy behind him saying, "What's the other guy's name?"
Mr. Kaplan. Mr. Kaplan.
Mr. Kaplan. Mr. Kaplan.
He's like, boy.
Mr. Kaplan. And then so as he's doing that, there's guys looking at the bellboy calling for Mr. Kaplan. Right. At which point he turns around, calls for the bellboy. He's not Mr. Kaplan. His name is something else, right? He goes, calls him, asks him, "Can you send a telegram for me?" So I can't do that, but I can show you where to go. So can you excuse me? Sure. So he gets up, but as he gets up, the guys who are looking at the bellboy thinks that's Mr. Kaplan.
Right. It appears to be Mr. Kaplan. So.
It appears to be Mr. Kaplan. So they go and to grab Mr. Kaplan, right? So he goes to where he's supposed to go to telegram. The two guys grab him and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" It's like, "You're coming with us." And they put a gun. He was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like just completely confused, right?
Mhm.
Complete. He is a Madison Avenue
Ad executive.
ad executive, right? He is doesn't make any sense,
Think thin.
right? And so finally after that, they're like, "Wait, what?" They put him in a car and they drive him to this fancy house. So where you said where that fancy house was, Eric?
Glen Club, Long Island. It's in Long Island.
It's in Long Island. Okay.
Gold Coast. It's the Gold Coast kind of thing. I don't know if it's not Lucas Valley, but it's right around there.
Okay. So he goes there to
I'll get it for everybody. Hold on. I know Dan wants to buy it, so
I've been looking at it anyway.
yeah, you know, plumbing needs to be redone, but you know,
they put him into the library and they're like, he's like, "I'm not who you think I am." Right? I'm trying to remember.
And he's got the full-on Cary Grant voice by this point in his life. So it's like the full Atlantic sound. Listen here, blah, 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 you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I'm not Mr. Kaplan.
Yeah. But he also is jokey the whole time. Like,
he's not put out by it. He's sort of like, "You guys got the wrong guy."
He's like, "No, I've got to have dinner with my mom and go to the theater."
Don't
right?
be silly.
Don't be silly. And then at which point some guy shows up who says he's what's the guy? He's some other guy's name, right? Mm-hmm. The name of some other guy. And they're like, "Okay." And then as that guy shows up, he says, "You go by many names," or whatever, and he's like, "Wait, what?" That's completely confused. Oh, and what's his name?
James Mason.
James Mason is the guy who shows up, right?
Mason, the villain.
The villain shows up, has this big speech with him, and then who's the other guy?
Martin Landau.
Martin Landau. That's right. Martin Landau is there, and the two thugs. And then they lock him in the room. It's like, "You should have a drink, Mister." And it's like, "I don't want a drink. I need to get out of here." It's like, "No, we insist." And they shove him down into the couch, and they pour an extremely large pour of bourbon.
It's a highball glass,
full of bourbon, and they basically shove bourbon down his throat, right, to get him completely trashed. Right. So I don't know. Somehow this.
What they want from this guy, what they want from Roger Thornhill is Cary Grant's real name, Roger Thornhill, and what they want from Roger Thornhill is totally unclear for Cary Grant. He's just like, "The fuck are you talking about? I'm not Mr. Kaplan." And they're like, "Right. That's exactly what Mr. Kaplan would say." You know, and it's like there's just no way out of it with these guys.
Right. It's like, and so it's like suddenly he's like, it's the spy who wouldn't be like, you know, like it's basically like he's a spy without realizing he's a spy, right?
Right.
So he's all upset about this, but they get him completely trashed. They put him inside in a car.
They're gonna just kill him.
They put him in a car, but they wanted to make it look like an accident, right? So they get him really drunk. They put him in a car, have him drive the car, and it's exactly the same kind of scene that was from Notorious, where except you know, drive him off a cliff, right?
Right.
But in this scene, Cary Grant somehow musters enough energy to get lucid.
Right.
What's going on?
Together just in time.
Pulls it just in time, even though he's completely drunk. shoves the guy out the door, and drives off with the car, drunk as hell, completely blottoed, and barely has control of the car, but continues to drive. So now we have two scenes from Notorious: driving drunk with the car and trying to get shoved off the cliff. Right. Right. Which I think this is why I said this is like the practice.
Yeah, there's the practice North and Northwest.
Right. So that's part of what was going on there. So then at this point, they're chasing him, right? They're chasing him. What's going on? He's continuing to do things. He's narrowly avoiding hitting people, so he hasn't really done anything wrong, right? The cops suddenly see what's going on. They follow him. He smacks into
parked police car.
No. He stopped the car so he doesn't get smashed.
Right.
He doesn't smash into this pedestrian. The cop car smacks into the back of him, and another car smacks into the back of the police car.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Right. And it's all a big mess. And then the other guys are like, "Uh-oh, the cops, we better get out of here." So they leave, right? At which point the cops arrest him, right? Take him to the police station. And he tries to explain this crazy story that he's been shoved with bourbon by these people, and they try to run him off a cliff, and he stole the car.
You're
right?
a drunk.
Yes, you're a drunk. And they're like, it turns out you stole, this car was reported stolen. Like, what? Right? And so it's this whole situation. He tries to call his mom and his lawyer. Right?
Hello, mother.
This was an odd part of the film, and it always is for me, because it's not slapstick, but there was this. It's
this is old time Cary Grant slapstick. Like when he's at the police station, he's like, "I'm going to do my drunk act," and like do this whole kit and caboodle. Like the movie hasn't really gotten into gear yet in terms of like
between the level of comedy and seriousness and the underlining comedy of it, absurdity and seriousness and edgy kind of scary, life-threatening situations like the plane and stuff. It's like the Mel Gibson films. What is it? Lethal Weapon. There's an element that has been replicated forever.
Yeah, there's like
because of that movie.
Just like there is no movie that does what this movie does nearly as successfully as it does it. Like it's like this is the kind of movie where that they must have been writing this as they were filming it. Like they're just like it's completely fucking. It's just
I think so, and it's interesting you say that, because from what I heard, it all started just from an image. He wanted to make something where the end scene happened on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, and because like I think that Hitchcock, like most non-Americans, thinks that Mount Rushmore is sort of ridiculous, and he's just like, "This is really ridiculous." And like this is really silly. Wouldn't it be fun to have a fight scene on this? And so like initially the movie was going to be called was the man who fell from Lincoln's nose or something like this, and they wouldn't let him title the movie that way, and so like it started from basically concept art that he thought was both spy-like and sort of over the top, because if anything's over the top in America, it's Mount Rushmore.
There's a great Adam Ruins Everything about Mount Rushmore because it's such a ridiculous.
It's sort of like it's so American that I sort of love how goofball it is. Like, I'm just like, that's idiotic.
Yeah.
It's just blatantly silly and so overblown.
It's even more silly than you think. Watch the Adam Ruins Everything on Mount Rushmore. It's like, oh God.
Oh, it's something else, man.
On top of that, it's all stolen Indian land.
Yeah, it's all exactly. So like everything about it, like it encodes the everything about it actually tells a really great cross section of what is good and bad about America. But it's all of that is incidental. Like it's people wanting to tell themselves this, sort of mythical story, and like and it's so capitalist and big, bizarre, and like it's like Vegas-y, and it's just wild. It's a wild thing to do.
But then they made that. I'm not defending but I think that was a WPA project, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's another way there.
So it was just another way. Like they made a ton of bridges in Connecticut.
I don't think it was. It wasn't a WPA project at all.
And the things that we do, like we do have to say, we do have to say, like the making of it, just like using dynamite to sculpt a mountain is stunning. Like, it's amazing that this is doable, you know. And so there's something giant.
It was.
And like
It was?
there's something giant and glorious and beautiful about it at the same time. I don't want to totally say it's kitsch, because it's not. It'd be wrong to say it's pure kitsch. It's not. There's something massive and gorgeous about it at the same time as being sort of ill thought through and hypocritical and bizarre. That makes it a very special place, and in a way that they never intended, but I think it's actually pretty interesting. You know, it's massive, and it's wild that they did this. But it's can you
But it was
imagine,
supposed to be way bigger.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
It's not.
It started in 27.
Yeah.
So
I'm
it's got Roosevelt on it, right? And like, can you imagine? That'd be like us doing like, why don't we make an enormous statue of Jimmy Carter? Like,
But there must be a reason why they did it, though.
Go to the Adam. Look up Adam Ruins Everything. Mount Rushmore, and it's all there.
You're taking all your history from Adam Ruins Everything?
Yes.
it's pretty good.
Why?
It's pretty good.
We have to say it is pretty good.
It's pretty good. You got to see it. We'll explain it.
But
They'll
it
explain
is awful. I think I have every feeling you can have about Mount Rushmore, including being impressed by it. It's great to think about it from an
Freaking
English.
impressive.
It's impressive. It's incredibly impressive.
Actually, what's really impressive is the mock-up. I'll send it to everybody. Awesome.
Yeah.
The mock-up is better. The mock-up is better than the final product.
Than the final thing. Yeah, it's
This is
really
the mock-up
sort
in
of
the studio.
Because they stopped in the middle of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the mock-up. Can you see the picture there?
Yeah, I got it. Clicking on it.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, there we go. That's wild. Look at that.
Right?
Crazy,
It's what is it, like 25 feet tall or something?
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it's just like it's a wild thing. And so, like, in terms of the movie, like, Hitchcock obviously is like, there is something goofball and magisterial about this simultaneously, and I'm going to make a movie that is this. Like, and that's what the movie feels like. Because I mean, like, you both take, like, I take the movie very seriously, and it's also very silly. Like, it's extremely compelling. I really care about the characters. The action is insane, and when you're in the moment of the movie, like, you take it seriously. It makes you're like, yes, oh my God, get away. And then the moment you step back, you're like, this is really silly, and it's amazing. It's an incredibly joyful experience, this movie, and many movies that are like it or try to be like it get kind of choppy, and you can feel them trying to think of the next gag. Like they're like, they can't wait to get to the next gag because the next gag's better than the last gag.
Yeah.
Right. So basically what happens here is he's now sober, and he's in front of the judge with his lawyer and his mother there, and his mother's rolling her eyes at him the whole time. Right. Because she knows
his mother, who's an actor who is 10 years older than him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It's like, she's a little young to be your mom.
Right.
But quite funny. And she knows like, oh yeah, you probably had 4 martinis for lunch and you got shit faced. You don't know what happened. It's like, yeah, no, they forced bourbon down my throat and blah, 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 blah. And so they're like, uh-huh. And I was like, no. And he's like, I'm going to explain everything and we can do this. And it's like, okay, you can take us to the house? Yes, I can take you to the house. So they all go to the house with the cops. He opens the door, and this other woman opens the door who's never seen before. And she looks at him and goes, oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. How is everything? You left in such a state yesterday. Like, who are you?
What?
Because remember, you had so much to drink. Did you take is like, did you steal that person's car? And they're like, this whole thing about this. And it's like, wait, what? And then they're all looking at him like, what's going on? And so he says, no, this is where I was. And he's like, this is where all the bourbon was. And he opens up the cabinet and it's full of books. Like, damn it. And he doesn't recognize anyone. It's a big situation. He says, well, where's your husband? And he's like, he's at the UN. Wait, what? The UN? So I forgot the name of the person that he was impersonating. Hold on a second. Someone else, the name that they had. It was Lester Townsend.
Mr.
right?
Townsend, yes, right.
Lester Townsend. So they're going to go try to find Lester Townsend. So finally, he gets let go, and then he decides, I got to go find Lester Townsend at the UN. So he goes to the UN to try to find Lester Townsend, right? And he tries to figure out what's going on. He goes to the UN. He after talking to a few people, he finds out where Lester Townsend is. Finds out is like, I've been not living in that house for months.
Yeah, it's a property of mine.
It's a property of mine, but I've been living here because I've been too busy with the UN.
Because I work at the UN.
Because I work at the
Exactly.
UN.
Right.
I don't have time to go. And it's like, wait, what? And as that conversation's happening, suddenly he gets killed by a knife in the back, stabbed in the back. So and then falls onto Cary Grant in front of all these people. And
Right.
Cary Grant is sitting there with a dead man holding
Knife
a
in his
knife,
hand.
knife in his hand.
Classic.
Right? Classic scene that you get in
Which
movies.
Hitchcock has done twice already with remaking, what do you call it? The Man Who Knew Too Much. Like, that's the
That's
scene
right.
from The Man Who
Right.
Knew Too Much. That's like falling to the ground, knife in the hand kind of bit. It's
Right.
hysterical.
Okay, so at this point now he's on the run, right? He's on the run for murder, right?
Cops
and
are after him. Bad guys
cops are after him, right? And he starts wearing his sunglasses. I want to point something out. I bought these sunglasses,
Oh yeah, these are great
And-
sunglasses.
and these are called the Grant sunglasses.
Yeah.
Now he had tortoiseshell; these are metal, but the same shape of the frame is what the Cary Grant was.
They're badass. They're great.
They're badass. Yeah,
That's
and whenever
terrific
like,
glasses.
yep,
That's
I
terrific.
had to get these. So they're called the Grants.
Yeah.
When
that's
did you
pretty
get them?
Just before the show.
But not a year ago, but maybe about 9 months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah,
This guy's got style to spare in this movie. It's insane.
right. Oh, right. And then and there's pictures of they take pictures of him. So the pictures of him everywhere. So now he's really on the run, and he's trying to figure out what to do. Right. He gets on a train. I'm getting the sequence right. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. Right?
It's such a crazy movie. It's like a bunch of crazy shit happens is what
Right.
the movie is. So it's hard to get it in the wrong order. They're after him.
They're after him, but he gets on a train.
Mhm.
And he's still trying to sort of hide himself from the situation, right?
Right.
He's still wearing his sunglasses, and
And he decides to hide himself with this beautiful woman.
he sits down to dinner at
Grand
the dinner
Central
time.
Station.
Oh,
It's
yes,
Grand
right.
Central Station, right? But he just hops on this train and he meets this woman. Oh, right. Wasn't it like he trying to buy a train ticket and they like figure out that it's him and he gets away again? Like it's
Yes.
this whole,
Yeah.
but yeah.
A little bit of business with that, right?
Yeah, that was going on. But anyway, he's on this train and he meets this gorgeous blonde.
Ava Marie.
right?
Ava Marie.
Ava Marie said-
Who's still alive?
No, she's
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
she's
she's all right.
100.
She's
Wow.
great. You've seen her in On the Waterfront. She's a
Mhm.
great actor, and she's sort of she's blonde, so she's not totally unusual for a Hitchcock leading lady, but she has a character to her that like
I
is
think
really
Hitchcock
unique.
really wanted to have sex with her.
yeah, like she's
I
like,
think so.
yeah, like the closest she comes like in terms of other Hitchcock blondes, like that's what he would always cast.
Right.
Like she's closest to what's her
Hedren?
name from Psycho.
Oh, right.
Right.
Tippy?
Not Tippy.
No.
Yeah, because like Tippy is very sort of light.
What's her
and
name's
breezy.
mother? It's
Yeah.
Tippi Hedren.
Tippy Hedren, right? And then, but in Psycho, it's
Jamie Lee Curtis's mom,
yes,
Janet Leigh.
Janet Leigh, thank you. And Janet Leigh's a terrific actor. I love her. And
She was.
yeah, she's really but Janet Leigh has
moly.
like is very, very keen, cynical intelligence. And that's why she's perfect for Psycho. And like she's a good person, but she's smart enough to know that you can't really trust everybody, right? And Ava Marie Saint has that without the cynicism.
Mm.
Like, and so like, because Tippi Hedren it's not that Tippi Hedren is dumb in The Birds, right? Like she's a perfectly smart character, but she's a very it's centered around the fact that she is struggling with her own frivolousness. Like she is a serious person who wants to have a serious life, but she can't get out of her own way in terms of people taking her seriously. And so she's a lighter, breezier character. or you have someone like Ingrid Bergman, who's not blonde, but Ingrid Bergman, who's sort of like her intelligence is sort of like a hang up. Like she knows too much about the world to think about it positively.
Yeah, she's too smart.
And so like, but Eva Marie Saint is both super sharp and optimistic. Like she's like, I get it. I understand why people are cynical, but that's why we fight the good fight. Like that's her, and it's a really unique character for him. Like it's his most optimistic female lead, and that's why I really love her in this thing.
Right.
Well, she's the most openly sexual too.
I mean, she doesn't give a fuck, dude. She's not trying to hide it at all.
No.
Like that's the best.
Yeah, no. This is straight up sexiness right here.
Like she just gets in there.
It makes the James Bond film feel like, prudish.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like James Bond's sexiness, or like the women in James Bond films, for instance, are always sort of semi-unaware of their sexiness. Like, and they're not idiots, but they're always sort of just like looking at me. My God, why? Like, whereas like Eva Marie Saint just walks on, is in total sexual control of the entire scene. Just like, you better fucking keep up with me. Right. You're like, okay, holy shit, yeah. Like it's really great. It's very exciting for a character, and there's just no shame involved in her life at all.
No.
And she's just like, I'm into it. Let's roll.
Yeah.
It's really great. Sex positive movie in the 60s.
Very 59
even.
Yeah. During the MAGA years that the MAGA people love to think about.
Yeah. You know why you thought life was simpler back then? Because you were 4.
Yeah. Of course, things were great. Things were always great when you were 6.
When you're 6 years old. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, meets her on the train.
Random
woman on the train.
Seemingly random woman on the train.
Seemingly
random woman on the train. And she sort of decides to help him, protect him from the cops.
He comes and sits down at her table in the dining car.
Right.
They're just like, please let me fucking hang out here until the heat passes.
Right.
And her response is like, maybe we could have sex though.
Yes.
Essentially,
exactly. And he's like, yes, because you're Eva Marie Saint.
I hadn't planned for that, but I guess that's a yes.
Any movie with a dining car or train scene, I'm all in.
It's fucking awesome. Yeah, it's
great. I also love the fact that sat down, ordered a Gibson. But by the way, the Gibson served in the teeniest little martini glass. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's just great. So much style in this movie, dude. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And the dialogue that they get into is sexier than anything you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like it is the absolute, like, I mean, of course it's the 50s. They can't say things, but there are lines in there that they had to cut out because they crossed the line. Yeah. They were just like, we understand what you're trying to do, Mr. Hitchcock, and we were not going to let you do that. But
it's gone a little too far. A little too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, the edit, the fact that he was forced to edit out some of that is why he chose the ending shot that he did. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yes. Which is like literally the most. Might as well shoot a giant porn scene.
It's just porn. Just porn.
Yeah. But anyway, so yes, they have their little rendezvous. She is obviously keeping him in the room, safe from the cops, which is an important part of the thing, right? And he is enjoying her hospitality, shall we say, right? As they go through the situation.
And he and he can barely keep up with it. This is the best thing. It's like,
but remember, he's not really a spy. He's just like,
like,
and he's an every way. He's on the run. He's like, I'm trying to get away, and I'm like, but at the same time, he's kind of a scoundrel. You've already figured that out, and so he's like, yeah. Okay. All right, I'll take this while I'm trying to get away from things.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Right.
And he's completely unsuspicious about this.
And how did they separate after coming out of the train? I forgot what happened when they get out of the train.
Because he plays a porter.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
With another,
That's right.
like one of my favorite. This is much more obvious, but I really love the rear projection walking shot here. It's pretty
Right.
great, and I love when you can see that actors that are great at rear projection walking shots because they know how to do the saunter like this, bouncing up and down, and it's just like they got this perfect dolly back footage that they're playing behind them,
Right.
and the only giveaway really is that it's so smooth. You're like, I don't think
Are they
this
really
can't really
walking?
be real. It seems awfully liquid. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's
And
fun. It's super
here's the
fun.
thing: is like, that's the thing, right? They were doing this stuff a lot. Like when people think about like, oh, virtual production, it's going to revolutionize them. It's like,
So cutting
dude,
edge,
man,
yeah.
we've been doing this for.
Since
You forgot we
literally
used to do this
film.
all the time. All the time.
When
I know you're
cameras were
spending
invented.
millions of dollars building these stages to do this,
Yeah.
but this was done all the time.
Yeah, when it's like they spent millions of dollars building a stage to do this for 2001.
Yes.
Like this has been a thing forever. Now you're using a TV set instead of a theater projector. That's about it. That's your big game.
Yep.
It's a great. It's very, if you know how to use it,
Everybody
it's
is
great.
building them.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, man,
Oh
like
my God.
the actual great advancement isn't the screen itself. It's the fact that you have that the data on the screen is linked to the camera via
Trackable.
It's instantly trackable. That's a big, big win. That's
I understand that's the case, but it's not necessary. Look at this film. A lot of the cameras are locked off, and they still are amazing shots.
Yeah, but the storytellers don't work that way anymore.
The thing is that the reason why things like when you watch the Mandalorian,
look at yourself on the screen with the green screen going over Dan as you're eating. It's pretty hilarious. I don't know what's going on. But it looks like you're putting your head down in his lap area.
Hey, we're talking about sex and
okay. Hold on, let's wait.
It's all part of the thing. It's all part of the thing.
You ready?
Yeah, see, like get your screen caps now. That's all I'm saying. Right? But yeah, like this, that's the thing, dude. It's like with like the way they use the technology now, it breaks in the same way it broke back then because people when they don't try to hide it through filmmaking, it's obvious that it's fake. Like
right.
you need to do it well. And when you just sort of like film it, it doesn't work. Like you do have to do a lot. It's a magic trick, and you have to be a magician to do it right.
Yeah, listen, and I really like some of the technology in these LED wall stuff, but it's like at the same time, it's like, let's not pretend that this is revolutionary.
Well, it's not high in our supply. Like it's just it's a better way to do a thing we've been doing for a long time. That's about it.
To some extent.
Yeah.
It's also, I think, because Hollywood has been so beat up, I think it's just a way to get excited about something new.
Sure. And it feels more like, I think that people, we talk about this on the show all the time. It's just like, if you think that VFX ruin movies, that's because you're seeing shitty VFX. And like, because there's so much shitty green screen that, it's just Marvel films are filmed sloppily or whatever it is.
Well,
like,
you're absolutely right.
VFX,
I mean, come on, think about what directors were given. I mean, I'm talking like 5-10 years ago, before LED screens were even a thing. They were sent to a room filled with blue or green, and it's like, good luck. You'll see it. That's a shitty film experience.
Yeah, right.
Like I said, that's a shitty filmmaking experience. Right. And that's not fair to them.
Right. It's honestly needlessly difficult to make that work.
Yeah, it's not fair to them to do that. And then now they put LED walls. Like, well, at least I know what the hell's happening on the screen.
Yeah.
I get it. But at the same time, I was like, well, guys, did it take you this long to remember rear projection?
Yeah, I know. Well, and the thing is, I think that the reason why people celebrate it so much right now is because is basically because it feels a little more physical, and people want to believe in the physicality of production because it helps them believe in movies. And I get it. I understand. But the thing is, like, these tricks have always been going on. Whether it's CG or whether it's not CG, it's still the same trick. And so, like, what you're really tired of is shitty filmmaking. You're not tired of VFX.
100% true. And the other thing is, when you shoehorn it, and it's like, oh, don't worry, it's going to be an exciting film because we're going to have all these special effects and people love special effects. Turns out that they only like special effects if it's surrounded by a good story.
That's it. The best distraction is a great story. Like, if you want to sell your story, like, it's like it doesn't bother me when the effects in whatever 2001 don't look photoreal, because it's a really great movie and it's art by itself. Like,
But you know what? On top of that, they do look real.
they look real. Also, they look incredibly good.
They look
But I mean,
really,
like,
really good.
it's just like, like I wouldn't like. There's painting. There's match shots of the Earth in 2001 that like you can say, yeah, okay, that's a painting. But who gives a shit? It's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
Whereas,
there's definitely that in this movie as well.
yeah. But
okay.
like in what was it called, the Quantumania, the new Ant-Man ad that I saw, maybe the movie's great, but like when I saw the ad, I was just Quantumania, yeah. And the ad is like, I was just like, you may as well just show me the green screen footage because that looks more real than what you're showing me in this.
Yeah,
ad.
it's out of control.
Yeah, like this is just a bad idea. I don't know why you're doing this anymore. Like this is just like,
and they spent a lot on that.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I just
a
read
lot of
somewhere
LED
that
screens. That's all LED screens.
Yeah.
That's not
that
green
the
screen.
new what is the
Well, there is green screen, but there's a lot of LED walls left there. What was that?
Go ahead, Eric.
Don't worry about me. I think it was the Fast and Furious 10. Is that it?
10?
The 10, number 10, correct?
Yeah, that's coming out. That's not yet.
That's
right.
340 million, not Princeton advertising.
Not P&A? What?
Yeah.
Jeepers creepers. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Spending. That's risk.
Yeah, but you know what? They'll make it. They'll make it.
They will, but that's.
You sound like a
frivolous.
studio executive, Chris.
I'll make it.
Just because you'll make it back doesn't mean, like, think of it this way. They could put out a Fast and the Furious movie that costs $20 at this point, and it would still make $1 billion, and then you get to keep that $350 million.
Yep.
I think sometimes people want to spend $350 million because they can, and because it's going to be a really good time on set.
Yeah, exactly, man. The catering is going to be great.
Yeah, the catering is going to be great. I told you about the time when I was on set. I was on set for Lady Killers, the Coen Brothers Lady Killers.
Possibly the sole bad Coen Brothers film.
Right. And there's like, we're going to do barbecue for Friday. And I was like, yeah. It's like, oh, what are we doing? It's like Chateaubriand and prawns. I'm like,
oh, very nice.
Fucking kidding me? Like
I'm used to
full beef tenderloins, like just nothing but filet mignons around the. I was like, oh my god! And this was like,
it's like you're in an Oprah audience. This is filet mignons for you. Filet mignons,
my favorite. And I'm like, and they're like serving it, and this is, but what's funny about it is that they still served it like it's catering. So you're still dealing with the fucking paper plates,
tinfoil,
and the lemonade,
right, exactly.
Because I was like, can I at least have a good bottle of wine to go with this? Because it's ridiculous, It's
like, I got my Chateaubriand, my Twizzlers.
yeah,
it's perfect.
This makes no sense. Yeah. Anyway, back to where we were. So yes, he gets away, escapes his deporter. But then something triggers him to want to go see her. What was the thing that makes her want to go see her?
Oh, wait, hang on.
They're in Chicago, by the way. I think.
When they're at the hotel, he wants to go see her. Is because, well, no, he didn't go to see her. He went to look for the guy, and he
went to go look for Kaplan, right?
Yeah.
He goes
and
to
then, as
Kaplan's
the
hotel.
guy says, no, the guy left this morning. He noticed her come into the hotel.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, right. Right.
Yeah.
So
and he's like, and then he looks at where she goes, and it's the 4th floor, and then she goes to room 463.
Right. There you go. So he goes to the hotel to try to find this Kaplan guy. By the way, just so you know, so less confusing, Kaplan does not exist. It's not a real person.
This is the scene in which you find out basically that Kaplan is not real. Kaplan is
not a real person. They just book hotels for him, and he's a fictional person. And so James Mason has been chasing Kaplan all around the United States, who's not a real person, and thinks that basically Cary Grant is Kaplan, who he's not.
Kaplan
Cary Grant doesn't realize that Kaplan is not a real person, and is chasing him around too, and then figures out he's actually not even a real person.
But there is something about that scene where it says everything. Is it in that scene? For me, that tiny razor and his expression on his face is like the absurdity of it all.
Yes.
Right. And that's the razor that he got from the train.
Yeah.
So all the train has all these little mini things and mini razors to shave his face. Right.
But the way he looked at it and the way he showed it to somebody else while doing that.
What the fuck is this?
This is absurd. This whole world is absurd.
Yeah. And like it makes it okay that everything that you're watching is virtually nonsensical.
Right.
It's just like it's completely off
It's
the
like
wall.
it's even more absurd than this movie.
Like it's an inch
This
tall
little
razor. Exactly.
Right.
But
Very
yeah,
funny.
the Kaplan, it turns out, is just a device created by the CIA so that they can track and trap James Mason. Like it's
James
all part of a lure.
Part of a lure. Part of a lure. Okay. So then he sees her at the hotel, goes to see. Oh, no, wait. Doesn't she give him an address? That's right. Because this is the plane scene.
Right.
So he's supposed to go to, this is the before. Okay. She gives him a specific address to go meet Kaplan.
Right.
Right.
And
right.
Yes,
And it's in the middle of nowhere. So he gets on a bus to go to this thing and and then like he gets there and it's in the
By the
middle
way,
of
that's the
field.
same road where James Dean died.
Is it?
Yep.
No shit. That's wild.
That's crazy. Okay.
With Ralph Woodrick.
So he goes to the specific address, which is in the middle of a field, in the middle of nowhere, to meet Kaplan.
Right. And we get one of the great set piece scenes in history.
Right. And at this point, he's just sitting there waiting, and there's a crop duster that's flying around. And here it is right behind us on our screen. If you're watching our YouTube or our Twitch, this is the scene. He is chased and gunned down by this plane. And it's one of the classic scenes in there. He gets away with it because he dodges under a truck and then the plane crashes into the truck.
To the truck, right.
Huge explosion. By the way, 1959, that shot was freaking expensive.
Big time.
That is big. That was a big explosion, big thing going on. This was
Inspired Indiana Jones too.
Yeah, inspired Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
This is a big thing, right? So he gets away. Then he finally finds his way back to the hotel to find Kaplan. Then he sees Avery Saint there. Goes to her room. It's like, why did you send me here? He gave a very specific address to go to see this guy. And she's still like, I don't know what's going on. She gets a little suspicious about it. At this point, he's still in her room. And he goes, why don't I take you out to dinner? So I have other plans. And she gets on the phone with someone. On the phone, she says, yes, I'll meet you there. She writes down an address on her pad, goes and he goes, you have specific, because she says she's in
Big Lebowski.
She's in industrial design. I think that's what it is, right? And so it's like, you have industrial design business at this time of night, etc. He goes, yes. And it's like, well, how about we go to dinner? It's like, great. Let's go to dinner. And she says, but you know what? Your suit looks terrible because he had been chased by a plane and he's got dust all over. Cross-dusting. It's like, you should get that taken care of before we go to dinner, right? It's like, I'll get the valet to take care of it. So the valet comes to take his suit. So now he's without clothes and he goes, well, what else could we do in 20 minutes?
I don't know.
With my clothes off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this, yeah.
That's my deal.
It's just, It's like, and she looks at him. It's like, how about taking a cold shower?
So good. She's just like reeling him in the whole time.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, fine. And he says, I think I will take that cold shower after all. At which point she bolts, right? And he's not really taking a cold shower. He's looking at her leave. After she leaves, he gets out of the room and he rubs a pencil on the piece of paper to see the imprint of the last thing she wrote and gets the address of where she's going.
That's the Big Lebowski moment that
that Eric was talking about. And then he gets in there and then he decides to follow that address and turns out that is an auction house, right? Mm-hmm. At which point you see James Mason with Ava Marie Saint. James Mason has got his hands all over her.
Mm-hmm.
And
he does creepy men well.
He's great.
So creepy.
I was actually discussing this. Like, I love the TV movie version of Stephen King's Salem's Lot, in which James Mason is the main villain. He's not the vampire, but he's the vampire's showrunner, and and his unbelievable, wonderful disdain. Like, he's just like, oh, good to see you. I mean, everything that he says, you're just like, God, he fucking hates everybody he's talking to all the time. I think is what defines him as an actor. And I think it's also because he wanted so badly to be a leading man but he's somehow a little creepy. And so he kept on being cast as the kind of creepy dude. And that's why he's perfect for Lolita. That's why he's perfect for this. Incredible actor. But like the longer he goes, the more creepy guys he plays, the better he gets at it, because he's like, I can't fucking believe
You
that I'm
can't
not
do
Cary
a James
Grant.
Mason voice and not be creepy.
It's just amazing, dude. Just, oh, Mr. Kaplan, yes. And you're just like, yeah, you're fucking. I know you're up to something. Like it's impossible to believe he's a romantic lead.
Yeah.
And but he is absolutely, he's terrific in this. And I also like his. I like the weird sexual tension between him and Martin Landau in this. Like there's like a complete
Yes.
like they
Yes.
are getting it on.
Yeah. Martin Landau is in love.
He's in love with him. He's pissed that Mason is
Smithers
bi.
rubbed my brain.
He's just like, I can't believe you're also nailing Ava Marie's set.
No, you can't do that. She's evil. Like he is the mother from Notorious.
Yeah. Oh god. Exactly so. It's fucking hysterical. It's such a great performance. And Martin Landau was a great actor and was not recognized for his greatness until finally Ed Wood, when he was like 87 years old. But he is
Eddie is cold.
It's the best. Martin Landau is a heroic actor. He's great in everything he's ever been in, and only finally got a fucking Oscar for thankfully Ed Wood, which he's amazing in.
Yeah. Okay. So at the auction house, he yells at her for being, the slutty tramp that she is, right? and she's upset and crying because he called her a slutty tramp,
Right.
as opposed to Ingrid Bergman from the previous films where she says, "I'm a slutty tramp. Prove me wrong."
Exactly.
Right. But then Ava Marie Saint is like, "Oh no, oh, this is upsetting." Right. And yes.
Oh no, this is upsetting.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but anyway, you're getting it. But they're still at an auction house, and he's bidding on some weird artifacty thing, right? And they're
he's
like,
willing
no,
to pay any price for that.
any price for this thing, right? And it's like he gets it, okay. At which point, now, Cary Grant explains, like, you guys are evil, and you're trying to, and they're blocking him all of his exits, and he's like, I'm much safer with the police than with you.
I want to get caught.
I want to get caught.
Yeah, right.
So at this point, they like they are blocking the two entrances. He can't get out. He sits down at the auction and starts making a complete mockery of the auction.
Yeah,
and
it's
disrupting everything, and it is hilarious.
Yeah, he's like I think that
no,
and he wants to get arrested.
Right.
He basically wants to disrupt.
Because the heavies are at the door,
right?
So he needs to get arrested.
This is my favorite auction scene, maybe second only to Uncut Gems.
Right.
This is a terrific auction scene. And he's just like, this is a bunch of effete tomfoolery, and I'm going to make it look incredibly ridiculous, is the major statement they're saying. And also he's going to get caught, which is what he wants.
Right. So he's like, they're bidding at 2,500, and he's like, he bids like 1,200. It's like,
he pushes the price up and then goes 500.
Right. And then it's at one point, it's like, no, it's like 100. It's like, five, eight, like $800, and like 9. It's like, no, 13. It's like $13. It's like, no, $1,300. No, $13. How do you know it's not a fake? And it's like he just makes this complete, and it's hilarious, very funny. At which point they're like, oh, call the cops. This guy's annoying. And they're all like yelling at him because he's disrupting everything, which is exactly what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally get the cops, at which point he starts a fight in there, punches someone, and the cops really come and arrest him, which means the heavies can't do anything about it because right. And now he's in the cop car, and the cop says, tells us, like, you guys are heroes, right? He's like, you got me. I'm the biggest murderer of all time. I'm in the papers. You're going to be heroes. And they're like, wait, what? Oh my God, it is the guy from the paper. It's the guy from the papers who murdered the guy from the
dude at the UN.
That stabbed the guy at the UN. Right. And they're like, okay. And so the guy gets on the radio to the police station. It's like, we got this guy. And then this guy says, and then he talks to the guy. He's like, wait, what? Okay. And it's like, we're taking you to the airport, not to the UN. Not to the police station. It's like, I want to go to the police station. Take me to the police station, because he feels he'll be safer in a police station than he would be anywhere else. It's like, nope, we're taking the airport because of orders, right? So they take him to the airport. He's upset about it. They get him there.
Which is very TV-like. That's almost like the $6 million man.
Well, and I actually love this scene, because this is the scene when they like the CIA is like, okay, so here's what's going on, right?
Right.
And they have to, like, it's a total TV scene, like Eric said.
That's right.
Yes.
Right?
It's
total.
total.
It's just like,
we had to do it. Our hands are tied. The president's on the line right now. I gotta go.
And it's such a bullshit scene. It's such a bullshit scene. It's just like Bill Bixby could be in the scene easily. That's how TV it is. And like, it's such a bullshit scene. And Hitchcock knows it's a bullshit scene. So once the CIA guy starts explaining it,
they put the big loud sound behind him.
Fucking engines of the plane drown out everything he's explaining. He's like, yeah, fuck it, doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Exactly right. I was going to say that. So basically, I'll just preface. He shows up at the airport, and they're going to buy this older guy shows up and pretty much feels like, nope, you're with me. Don't worry about it. The cops are going to let you go. Here's what's going on. I'm part of the CIA, and the reason is that this all's going on is like, there's big airplane jets going on. And so that's why we need your help.
It's hysterical. It's so funny. And you can just see them like they're I'm sure like like whoever Lehman or whoever wrote the screenplay with Hitchcock, like they're sitting around and they're just like, there's no fucking reason. How does this even work?
How does this even work, right?
Just like, just play the fans over it. It'd be fine.
Yeah, no worry. Well, let's just put as you're walking to the plane, you're just going to be drowned out. And it's like, yes. And that's how, that's why Paris is the capital of France.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So at this point, he's upset. He's also upset at Ava Marie Saint. Finds out that Ava Marie Saint was, in fact, working for them the whole time.
Right. She's so like really when she's crying about like, I can't believe I'm being called a whore, she's actually saying, I can't believe we get to fuck these two handsome guys and no one's gonna complain.
It's true.
This is great. Oh yeah, this is a great gig. Wow, James Mason and Cary Grant. I'm not even gonna charge you overtime. This is fantastic. Thanks very much. This is great.
Yeah. Okay.
She is the real hero of this movie to me. She's in control the whole time. She's having sex with who she wants to have sex with. No apologies. Yeah. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful, hilarious movie.
All right. I gotta step aside for a second. I'll be right back. So I'm gonna check something out. But keep talking about the plane. They're going at this point. They're going to South Dakota, right? So talk about.
Let's see if I can remember. Like, okay, so from that point on, we have. I'm gonna click on the movie here. So yeah, we are. Just 1 second. All right. So this ends up with having to go to South Dakota, because that's where they're going to leave the United States with the art object, because the art object has microfilm in it. That's why microfiche, yeah, very advanced technology. And so it's revealed that James Mason, like the reason why they want this is because I mean it's like the bottles of whatever the sand were and Notorious. Like the art object has the microfiche in it, and they got to get it out of the country, and they're going to be taking off from James Mason's extremely nice Frank Lloyd Wright style house in North Dakota, which is right above Mount Rushmore.
Is that a real house? It is a real house, right?
No, it's totally set. It's totally made up.
It's a really great house.
It's a Frank Lloyd Wright style house.
Yeah, totally Frank Lloyd Wright.
Complete modernist experience. Beautiful.
But actually, Frank Lloyd Wright, I would argue, is not necessarily a pure modernist. Do you know the famous story, right? Do you know the famous story, right?
No, go ahead.
Philip Johnson, who's a purist modernist, right? So he, like, at one point, Philip Johnson was called more Mies than Mies.
Right.
Than Mies van der Rohe, who was like, Philip Johnson went to visit, or Frank Lloyd Wright went to visit Philip Johnson at his glass house in New Canaan. And
I've done that.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I
By the way,
actually had lunch-
you can Airbnb the glass house. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
but I was there
It
in
costs a
1990,
Yeah.
91, and I went out they had this luncheon thing, invited some people out. Went with a girl I was dating, and he was there, and we just hung out at his glass house, and he told us stories and showed us art.
That's
And called
incredible.
my girlfriend and I, at the time, my girlfriend, you kiddies. You kiddies are so young.
Kiddies.
But he was there with his partner, and he spent the afternoon with him. It was awesome. I went with my sister.
But when Frank Lloyd Wright went to visit Philip Johnson at the glass house, Frank Lloyd Wright's line was, "It's a really nice place you have here. Where do I take my hat off?"
Where do I take my hat off? That's what you told me. This one. That's so good.
Which is basically like, I don't know what's inside and what's outside.
Yeah,
So there's no,
exactly.
this is not really a house, right? And
Right.
what was Philip Johnson's line about Frank Lloyd Wright? He was the greatest 19th century architect.
That's so good. It's so good. It's funny.
Yeah, because he worked for Louis Sullivan, didn't he?
Frank Lloyd Wright?
Mhm.
No. Oh, no. Frank Lloyd Wright. No. Louis Sullivan was
Yes, he did.
after. Oh, Sullivan. Sorry. I
He
thought you
worked
said
for
yes.
Louis Sullivan in
He did.
Chicago.
He did. And Sullivan. I
as a
love
young-
Sullivan. I love Louis
Yeah,
Sullivan.
his stuff. There's only one building in New York that's a Sullivan. I remember it. I used to go into
Yeah.
it a lot.
But there's a lot of them in Chicago and they're fabulous.
Guarantee you that there is no film podcast that is more architecturally knowledgeable than Martini Giant. Like there's that you're going to get more fly casting information and architecture information and art history information from Martini Giant than any other film podcast.
This is
in the
true.
United States. It's
And Eric, I always love it. Eric really knows his shit, man. He is
shit, yeah.
always it's one of the reasons we're great friends, because we can have
Absolutely.
these great conversations.
Yep.
And why we continue to do these podcasts in the last 3 hours, because we can't freaking shut up. Okay, where are we?
We're almost there.
We're almost
at
there.
at James Mason's nice house in South Dakota.
James Mason's nice
North
house at this situation. So now, Cary Grant has figured out this Amory Saint is all involved. She's actually been an insider for the CIA the whole time, and they're trying to actually make this work. And they come up with this harebrained scheme to try to get away, so this can all work, because
By the way,
they
just-
need to.
I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah.
When AI becomes perfect and we can
Yeah.
do video, I am going to take the scene of Sean Penn and Falcon the Snowman. Mom, Dad, I work for the CIA.
Yeah.
And put it into the scene where she's a James Mason. Like, who are you? I work for the CIA.
I
Just
fucking love Sean.
go.
Oh,
Stop being a brat. I need to throw her out of an airplane.
Exactly.
So basically, what happens at this point? That's hilarious, Eric. Very funny. But at this point, they come up with this harebrained scheme, because what they need to do is they still need to figure out what James Mason has. They haven't figured it out yet. We pretty much know that it's the thing that he bought at the auction, but
Yeah, it's
we're
a
not
fucking
going to
microfilm of the thing.
yeah, right. And so, but at the same time, they're like trying to figure it out. So they need to keep the thing going, so he's not suspicious, so that they can figure it out from there, right? But the Cary Grant doesn't want her to get hurt, so he's trying to find a way to get her out of this situation. So they need to get rid of Kaplan so that they're not suspicious anymore. So they have the situation where they meet in the public place at Mount Rushmore, which is the cafeteria. And in the cafeteria there, they meet. He says something about her, meaning like, I want to get rid of her. Like she betrayed me to James Mason, right? And she says, oh, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, give me her so that I can get rid of her because of all this horrible stuff that she's done to me. And I'm like, okay. And that didn't work. She then shows up and gets upset at him, pulls out a gun and shoots him in front of everyone and runs away. Right?
Kaplan is dead, they think.
Kaplan is dead. Right. And the guy shows up, who is the CIA guy. Is like, no, like pretends to be a doctor, right?
Right.
It's like, they put him on a stretcher, put him in an ambulance, and they drive him away. And in the middle of the forest. The forest set was great, Eric. 100% agree with you.
So good. So good.
I love the forest set.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a great set, which they use multiple times.
Yes, they did. And can I just point out, like, why do we have to be so photoreal in CG when you can do something like that soundstage and be
That looks
enchanted?
beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful fantasy experience. It's a
That's
movie.
right. And I kind of
Let me
feel
movie.
like Bertolucci took that and used it for The Conformist.
Oh yeah, God, I love The Conformist. That's
So
a
do
great
I.
film. Yeah, great frame. Great.
I love that
Well,
force
I
scene.
think it's I think it's slightly ironic that us CG guys are like, why are you doing this the way you're
It's
doing it
CG,
when we can make
yeah.
it better? And I will tell you this: when we made V-Ray IRL, right?
Mhm.
We didn't use any CG for that because we know how much work it was. So we actually purposefully avoided CG.
Exactly. The only CG is the bullet holes in people's heads when they get shot.
Right,
That's
because
literally
that's easy. We know how to do that.
That's it.
That's easy.
Right.
But like even our
And
DP was
Metzger was CG, wasn't he?
And
yeah
Metzger's CG,
Metzger's CG.
yeah.
But even our DP was like, aren't you going to put green screen behind there and just do
Why?
driving shots? And we're like, why?
Gives a shit.
You don't need to actually see something going on. We just put big white screens there, blow it
It
out.
looked awesome. It looked
No
great.
one, you know what? And the thing is, when people look at that, they don't even realize it's just white behind us.
Because you're paying attention to the scene. Like,
Because
you're
the
watching,
story is selling the
because
story.
It's a cool fucking movie you're watching.
Yeah.
Exactly. As I pat myself and everyone else on the back, like that's a great little fucking piece of work. No doubt about it.
Give me 1 sec, guys. I got a crazy dog.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's as Eric's saying, it's just like the responsibility of making of doing the great CG or whatever you're doing for the movie is to make art, not to make things photoreal. Sometimes the assignment is photorealism,
Right.
but that's like photorealism isn't a gauge for quality. Like you can make something be totally photorealistic and the shot can still be shitty. Like just because it's believable doesn't mean it's artistic, or like it doesn't make any difference. Like there's shots in this movie that are clearly matte paintings and they're fucking great. Like it just looks
100%.
awesome.
Right.
Like this is just,
I mean, there's a couple of things where like, you see a shot of Mount Rushmore and you see two little people clearly in different color spaces.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Like there's technical limitations, but even then I would
They
argue
didn't have compositing tools that we have today where we can match blacks and all that other stuff, but it still works. Still works.
I'm
Looks
totally
great.
down with the movie is why it's working,
Mount Rushmore.
And so I really feel like that's the thing that I look forward to it because like I see like I'm back into video games now for many years now, thanks to my kids and all this stuff. And like the revolution that's going on in video games is in the indie market. Like that's where all of the interesting shit is happening, and all of the art, like because it's art. They're just like they have no like these things are being made incredibly cheap by just a few people, and they can just make the art that they want to make. And so when like young audiences see this, they're not responding to it because it's rendered so well or like the characters have so many polys. Like they're responding to it because it looks awesome and it's beautifully designed. And I think that if that's true for video games, it's not going to be too long before people start getting away from the pseudo photorealism of the Marvel experience and into making artful shots again, because you can just do it cheaper and it's more beautiful.
Yes. Okay, so trying to wrap the story up. We can all get through all these things after we get through the story. So at this point, he realizes it's like, okay, everything's going to be okay. She meets him, and then he's like, great, now we can get away. And he's like, no, I still have to be with James Mason because we still have to get this other information. And it starts, and he's like, but wait, no. And he just can't let her go. Mm-hmm. But she's like, I still have to do this. And so she drives off. They knock Cary Grant off, right? They knock him on his head, take him and basically lock him up so that he won't compromise the mission.
Yep.
Right? So he's in his hotel room, or not hotel room. He's in the hospital room, more specifically. And the old CIA guy gets him some clothes and stuff. And is like, all right, you can change now. You can put some clothes on. And he goes, great. And he goes, is there anything else I can get you? Because he's being very thankful for all the help, but he's like, you just gotta chill out here, like until this is all done, right?
Right. We'll take care of it. We're the pros.
We're the pros. You just you can't be involved. And he's like, how about a bourbon? Can you give me a bourbon? I haven't had a drink in a while. And I was like, sure. It's like, in fact, I'll join you for a drink. And it's like, great. So he leaves, and then he's like, great. And then he tries to open the door. Fuck, can't open the door. Right?
Yeah.
So then he decides to leave the place through the window, climbs down the ledge to another room, climbs into the room that's dark. This woman yells, "Stop!" Screams, turns on the light. He sees this woman, and she's in a hospital. And then at which point he's like, ah. And then she looks at it, puts her glasses on. She goes, "Oh, stop!" It is
So
it is one of the funniest and sexiest scenes.
He says,
funny. Hysterical.
It's hilarious.
And this is Cary Grant is like 58 in this movie, and he's still like he's just ruling the screen. This is great. Like,
Yeah.
Was he 58 at that time?
Oh, he's probably in his mid 50s at least in this movie. You know,
Yeah.
he's great. He's just great. He's got such charm.
He is. Yeah, he is definitely, like, look at the picture behind me right now. I mean, he is full on George Hamilton, orange.
Ultra
He looks like a
tan.
carrot, you
Yeah.
know. But also
He's got the vibe.
he is shirtless in that thing with a towel around him. So that's definitely, you know, and not, you know, we're not talking like Marvel pecs or anything like that. No. But still.
He's not like objectively physically sexy like a Calvin Klein ad from the 80s.
Mhm.
Like, he's sexy because he's fucking cool. He's just
And
cool.
the way he delivers lines and the way he talks, and he's just
confidence, man, just works.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, good looking man.
Mhm.
Muy guapo, muy guapo.
Man, muy guapo.
Okay, so then he gets out of there, decides to go to the house, Perry Mason's house, right?
Mhm, right.
Which is, as you mentioned,
Perry Mason.
not Perry Mason, James Mason.
Perry Mason.
I've been fighting saying Perry Mason this whole time. So I
I
always
wish that James Mason was also Perry
You
Mason.
said Lee Majors' house. I was like, it's not Lee Majors.
That'd be pretty
which
good.
is like, as we said earlier, was the Frank Lloyd Wright inspired house. It's got this amazing cantilever steel thing that was going on. Great.
It's an awesome design. It's great.
Awesome design. Really good design.
Someone should make that house. That is a great house.
That is a great house. And he goes there and is trying to rescue Eva Marie Saint, right?
Mhm.
But as he's going through this situation and he's climbing around, you realize several things are happening. There's a plane that's going to arrive that's going to save them, right? Or not save them. That's going to take them to where they need to take the microfiche, the information, right? She's still up there. She's getting ready. She's part of this whole situation. And then, what's his name? Landau.
Landau,
Who's very much in love with James Mason.
With Mason, yep, exactly. I mean, he'll kill for that guy. 100%.
He will kill.
Absolutely.
And very jealous of his relationship. It's like she's a bad person, just like the mother was
with
in
this woman.
Notorious,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And tries to convince him that she's bad, right? And what he does is he pulls out a gun on James Mason. It's like, wait, et tu, Brute? You know, that kind of situation, right? And then he fires the gun at James Mason and nothing happens because it's the same gun that she had, which had blanks in it.
It's bullshit, Mac. Yeah,
bullshit. It's like it's an old Gestapo trick. Oh no. It's like, she's been on to you the whole time. I'm the one you really love.
Yeah, man. Exactly. All but says these lines. It's true.
All but says these lines, right? But anyway, that's the situation. At which point it's all bad. But because Cary Grant was outside, he heard the whole thing. It's like, oh shit, they're on to her, right? So bad, right? So then he sneaks up, he tries to get her attention, doesn't successfully get her attention, but climbs into her room, and she's sort of wandering around to get the stuff going. At which point he figures out that he has a matchbook with his initials on it, which is
ROT.
Which she knew because they had an interaction on a train from the previous thing about the ROT matchbook, right? So he takes out the matchbook with his initials on it and then opens it up and says, "They're on to you. I'm hiding in your room," right? Closes the matchbook And then while she's downstairs, he goes over and tries to flick it to her to get her attention. Doesn't work, which point it lands on the floor, but Martin Landau sees it, picks it up, and puts it on the table. Doesn't think anything of it, just thinks that the matchbook is on the floor. At that point, she notices it, reads it, realizes he's there, and then is like, we gotta get there because the airplane is here, right? But also, I should note that at this point, Martin Landau and James Mason said, we're going to get rid of her. We're going to throw her off the plane over the ocean, right? Because that's the best way to get rid of something like that because of all of her situation. But, and also, Cary Grant has figured this out. So I was like, I better save her before they throw her off this plane, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, I'm going really fast, but this is where we are. So now that has happened, she goes to meet him. She realizes like, oh shit's gone wrong, but she still ends up leaving because she doesn't really have a choice. It's just too tough, right?
Right.
To get out of this. So then Cary Grant is sneaking around the house. There's a housekeeper that's still there, right?
The evil housekeeper, yes.
The evil housekeeper from who was also in the old in the other house, right?
Right.
He's sneaking around the house. She spots him through the reflection on the TV. Great shot. Great shot. And she's like, she plays it cool, like, oh, I didn't notice him, but she spots him through the reflection on TV. At which point she corners him with a gun. Turns out it's the same gun with the blanks, right? So she tries to shoot him, but because it's the blanks, he gets away with it, runs out and grabs her. As she's about to get on the plane, she realizes I'm screwed because if I get on this plane, I'm dead, right? But he grabs her and they run off into the woods. Am I missing anything?
No, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. They run off into the woods, right? And then as they get towards the end of the woods, they realize they're on top of Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore. So now they're literally climbing around on top of the president's heads.
Yes.
Trying to get away, and there's a lot of cliffhanging moments, literally cliffhanging moments, right? As they're going through this entire process and, trying to get away from this situation.
I would say that one of Alfred Hitchcock's great obsessions is how scary it would be to fall to your death. Like that's in Suspicion, that's in Vertigo, that's in this. It's just like all over
Keep
the
talking
place.
For a second, guys. I need someone.
Smokey and the Bandit.
It's Smokey and the Bandit 2. The double. Yeah, it's like and I don't think that people appreciate how, I don't know. Like I'm terrified of heights like that, and when
I'm afraid of heights.
Oh fuck no, man! I can't go up on a set. I would be like, let's shoot this on a soundstage. I can't do this. This is way too crazy. But yeah, he really makes a meal out of it, and it's really really funny. Like it's both it's scary and weird and dreamy. Like this whole scene is such a like it's obvious that like we were saying before, like this is the source of the movie. Like he thought of this and like he's like, we have to make a movie that leads up to this imagery, because the thing that it's most like in all of Hitchcock's catalog is the Salvador Dali stuff. So I remember the Salvador Dali dream sequences with the eye, with the cutting the eyes and all that stuff.
Yeah. Like, that's a Buñuel shot.
That's a Buñuel shot also, but it's because it's the which one is that? It's is that Enter
Octagon.
Hitch. Yes, Enter the Octagon, and Hitchcock Dali is what? That is. Yeah, God, I'll put the link in the chat. Where is it? Spellbound. Yes, Spellbound. And the dream sequence from Spellbound is the thing that I think of when I see this sequence. Like all these weird, giant, distorted faces everywhere, and these little figures climbing on top of them. That's like straight out of, like that's almost like Akira Kurosawa's dreams, not like a regular spy movie. It's just great.
Okay, I'm back. All right. So at this point, there is shenanigans going on. Let's say it is a classic, a very good action sequence of people struggling to hold on to rock as they're dealing with the situation. Right.
Well shot.
It's very well shot. Lots of very creative rear projection stuff and matte painting stuff. Really, like really, really good and very exciting. Right. Probably like imagine like how they had to figure this stuff out, right? Anyway, so they did that, and holding on to the cliff, there's a situation where she's barely holding on. He's reaching to hold her, and he's got the hand-to-hand situation, right? Like, so like one hand holding on to this, one hand holding on to her. He's trying to figure it out. Martin Landau is above them. It's holding on to the pottery with the microfiche in it, right? And he's like, he looks at Martin Landau and says, help, help. Like, for some reason, why would you? Why? Yeah. And Martin Landau's like, yeah, fuck you, and steps on his hand, right? So that he would drop. And then he gets shot, right? Because the cops are there. Because finally the cops caught up from when he left the hospital. That's the other thing that you have to realize. Like, oh, yeah, you remember he escaped the hospital. So he gets shot. And then if you go back, then they did a cut to the top, and you realize that James Mason is also caught by the cops. And he's like, he has this little weird nonchalant, like, well, that's a shame, kind of looked at things.
I thought something about guns. Like, did he say something? It was a comment about guns, or firing guns or something.
Yeah, it was something weird. But in any case, now the guy's done. The microfiche is exposed. You can see it inside the artifact. Cary Grant is holding on to the edge of the cliff, holding on to Eva Marie, saying, it is so precarious. It is like, come on, you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And then it transitions to
Mrs. Thornhill.
Mrs. Thornhill.
Such a beautiful shot.
And it transitions to him helping her up onto the bunk bed of the train. Because this is where they first had sex, right?
Great.
Right. And he proposed to her. Actually, I shouldn't mention they proposed to her. And they're like, oh, this is so romantic. And they're like, and they're like, this is great. And then the last shot of the movie is literally a train going into a tunnel.
Yes.
What do they mean by that, though?
It's such a flip of the bird to the censors. Just like,
yeah,
all right. Yeah.
You don't want us to talk about intercourse? Here's a shot of a train going inside of a tunnel, right? And so that is the end of the movie, and that is a great ending. And obviously, the quote unquote, everyone talks about that symbolism of that last shot, but that is what it is.
Yeah, it's
including Benny Hill. I think he ripped it off like every other show.
Yeah, that's true. Benny Hill, the auteur of yes.
Yeah.
Stop dancing up there. Yes.
I would love to see a biopic of him.
Of Benny Hill?
Of Benny Hill.
Yeah. Because he was, from what I had read, I know he died in the 90s. I believe he died right around the time Francis Bacon died. And he used to go for lunch every day at this club in London, exclusive club, and sit by himself and read the papers. But he was married, and his wife died, I think, tragically young, and he never remarried. But he just put all that angst into comedy.
Yep.
And
Benny Hill did.
Yeah. So it would be wonderful to like The Secret Life of Benny Hill and just open with him at this restaurant. Every day he had lunch there.
Right. And the total opposite of his insane manic, Yeah.
Like, he just lived like a life of a loner, actually.
Interesting. But yeah,
that would be interesting.
So, a couple things as we wrap up. First of all,
no, let's not wrap up. First of all, are we going to do that dopey film with the Vampire Dopey Film Festival?
I hope so.
What?
The Twilight Marathon.
The Twilight Marathon.
Yeah,
yes, we have to figure out the Twilight Marathon.
It's in the works. It's in the works.
We have to figure that out. I'm going to figure it out at some point. If we do it before
the next.
If we do it before the end of the year, it'd be a miracle. But maybe I can pull off a miracle. Who knows?
I think we can do it for charity.
Yeah, and I know a specific person who works with the Red Cross.
So get chop.
Okay, we'll put that on Monday. Actually, put it on Monday.
I was just about to say, put that in Monday.
Yeah. So we'll do that, and we don't have to talk about business while we're actually broadcasting.
I'm not trying to talk about business podcasting, but I do want to say this. I changed the password.
Good.
Can I just tell you now?
Yeah,
that's it.
4K3350.
Okay.
Is that capital K? Capital K.
Capital K.
Capital K. Okay. Don't do that. What I do want to mention is, listen, guys, if you guys, I would love to do Hitchcock's Thanksgiving, and I feel like I'm going to forget next Thanksgiving. So remind me sometime. Someone in our Martini Giant group,
Keep us honest.
remind us. Come like October is like, hey, by the way, you're supposed to do Hitchcock's Thanksgiving.
Now, and so, luckily, Hitchcock has so many goddamn movies. We can keep this going.
Yeah, we can do Hitchcock Thanksgiving for like like a decade.
No, sweet.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome, and it's like it really was reinvigorating for me to especially watch because I literally just watched North by Northwest like 3 times in this one year, but I had not seen Notorious in a while, and I was like lit up by that one. I had forgotten how much I loved the experience. So I love revisiting the stuff. We have one day that we can.
You can't go bad with it.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
Absolutely. Okay. So listen, I got to get going. I need to help my daughter with something, so I need to get going. But thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will keep this going. I need to talk to you guys a couple of minutes after podcast.
Right
we'll
Sounds good.
There. All right.
But thank you everybody in chat. That's totally awesome. Please check out our Discord if you haven't seen it. It's and reach us at Twitter, Martini _Giant.
If Twitter still exists next week.
It still exists. Well, next week we'll see.
I don't think it is actually.
Be on Instagram.
Yeah. But our Discord is very active, so check our Discord out.
Right. But yeah, thanks very much, everybody. That was totally awesome. And all Dave, yes, Dave is correct. Trumbull was not a visibly mad person. He was actually quite kind. But I was quite nervous when we got out of there without having handcuffs on. So that's that.
Breaking into his office.
I'll tell another podcast. We'll tell the full story. Good stuff.
All right. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Drink.
Talk.
Drink.